Hello guys, this is your friend Naruto Audio Fanfics and we are back with a new fanfic. Which is what if Naruto became the demonic Shinigami of death? Naruto times Kurama, Akane times Hinata times Sakura times Anko times Yugito times Tsunade times Kurenai, Part 2. And if you enjoy this fanfic then please press the like button and subscribe to my channel for more fanfic like this. And now let's start the fanfic. A month had passed since Naruto and his team had begun taking missions from the village, all of course C rank and above since they refused to do anything below that. Naruto had also dealt with 7 more hollow sightings over the month, none of them were really serious since he didn't even have to use his Zanpakuto yet. Naruto had begun his research regarding training Ryutsu as a human as he had promised Anko, needless to say he has yet to find a safe way. Now we see Team 11 standing at ease in the middle of the Hokage's office. They had just returned from a B-ranked mission where they had to eliminate a group of missing nins from various villages. Apparently they had joined forces and taken over a small village along the outskirts of Hai no Kuni. The people of the village have been suffering under their rule. Naruto had easily dispatched 2 missing nins from Iwagakure, Hidden Rock, while Akane and Anko dispatched a missing nin from Takigakure, Hidden Waterfall, and Sunagakure, Hidden Sand respectively. So is that everything you have to report from the mission? The Sandaime Hokage asked as he took another puff off his pipe. Well, the beds in their hotel are really comfortable if you catch my drift. Naruto smirked along with Akane and Anko, causing Hiruzen to let out a perverted giggle as he discreetly wiped away the trail of blood from his nose. Very well Naruto-kun, so here is the pay for a successful B-ranked mission completed. Hiruzen picked the worst time to say that as Team 7 just entered the office with a furious-looking Sasuke, hard-eyed Sakura, blank-faced Sai and apologetic-looking Kakashi. I demand to know why the Dobi has been allowed to attempt a B-ranked mission when I, and Uchiha, have to be stuck doing these stupid chores. Sasuke demanded in an arrogant tone. Sasuke-kun is right, why does the Naruto Baka get to do a higher ranked mission than us? Sakura screeched in support of her crush, but before the Sandaime could reply, Iruka, who was in the room at the time, responded first. You idiot. You're just a rookie genin that had recently graduated from the academy. Everyone starts off with the simple duties and works their way up. Iruka yelled at the 2 genin as Naruto's group watch on in amusement. Then why does the Dobi get to go on? Sasuke's reply was interrupted by a slap to the back of his head courtesy of Kakashi. Sasuke, might I remind you who exactly you are talking to? Kakashi reprimanded his student before rubbing his head sheepishly and looking back at the Hokage. Sorry about my cute little genin Hokage-sama. That's quite alright Kakashi, just make sure it doesn't happen again. As to answer your question young Sasuke, Team 11 have proven themselves to be capable of higher ranked missions, something your team has yet to show. Sasuke looked like he was about to retort when Naruto coughed to gain everyone's attention. I believe I know the perfect solution to our little problem. Oh, do you now Naruto-kun? Hiruzen asked the demon Shinigami hybrid with amusement. How about both our teams go on a joint C-rank mission, that way their team can gain the experience needed without much risk. Naruto suggested, causing the Hokage to look thoughtful and Iruka to smile slightly. It seems that your transformation really helped you to mature Naruto, Iruka thought with happiness. That's an excellent suggestion Naruto-kun, I approve of your proposal for a joint C-ranked mission between Team 7 and Team 11. Hiruzen finally announced, causing Kakashi and his team, except Sai, to look surprised. Naruto Baka actually helped us out. Don't listen to him, he is obviously using this to make us love him. That's right, no way am I falling for that trick, Sasuke-kun is the only one for me. Sakura looked back at Sasuke with an adoring face. The Dobi actually backed me up. Sasuke thought in surprise. Naruto actually helping Sasuke, he must have something planned, I can't be bothered. Kakashi shrugged lazily as the Hokage rummaged through the available C ranks before finding an acceptable one. Your C rank mission is a protection mission of a certain individual, Tazuna-san, you may come in now. The sandaime called out as the door to the office swung open and the occupants were immediately hit by a strong stench of alcohol. What's this? A voice slurred. Standing in the doorway was a man with gray hair, mustache and beard, and despite his relatively old age, they could see that he had a muscular frame. There was a sake bottle in his hand, which explained where the alcohol smell was coming from. This is my protection, Tazuna said in a clearer tone this time. They look like a bunch of brats, especially the pink one with the large forehead and the brooder with the duck-ass hairstyle. What's the point of killing the person we are trying to protect, nay? Kakashi I smiled as he held back both genins as they tried to struggle free to attack the man. I am the super expert bridge builder, Tazuna. I expect you to provide me super protection until I get back to my country and complete my bridge. Tazuna stated. Despite their age, Tazuna-san, I'm sure my genin can handle this mission. And even if something they can't handle comes along, the rest of us are more than enough to handle it. Kakashi told the bridge builder as the two insulted genins calmed down and settled for glaring at the man. I guess you're right, so when are we able to set out for my country? Tazuna asked. Meet us back at the gate in an hour's time. Kakashi replied before leaving the room with his team and Tazuna, leaving Team 11 in the room along with the sandaime and Iruka. Aren't you and your team going to prepare for the mission, Naruto-kun? Hiruzen looked curiously at the former Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi. Nah, we're already prepared for it. Naruto produced a storage scroll from a storage seal on his arm. This scroll contains the necessary materials and rations needed for a typical week-long C-ranked mission, and also money to buy more if the mission duration extends beyond that time frame. Oh, very smart of you, Naruto-kun, but why are you still in here? Hiruzen asked. Just wanted to tell you that we may run into hollows on this mission, so I was wondering. Naruto trailed off. Fine, you have tactical command of the mission once a hollow shows up. Hiruzen sighed as the demonic Shinigami smirked as he left with his team via shadow portal. An hour later at Konoha's gate, Tazuna was standing at the gate along with Team 11 and were waiting for Team 7 to arrive. They didn't have to wait long as the genins of the team arrived a minute later. Yo! A lazy voice greeted as the group turned to the right simultaneously to see Kakashi leaning against a tree trunk, his face buried in his as usual. You aren't late. Sakura finished off in a softer voice in confusion before she pointed accusingly at him. Who are you, imposter, and what have you done with Kakashi-sensei? I'm not that bad, am I? Kakashi rubbed the back of his head sheepishly as everyone looked at him with a deadpan expression, which he promptly ignored. Right, let's get moving. The first few minutes of the trip was serenely calm, with Naruto walking slightly ahead with Anko and Akane attached to his arms, Tazuna wondering how the brats scored two hot chicks, Kakashi giggling perversely either from the book or Naruto, Sasuke brooding and Sai being his emotionless self. That is until their resident pink-haired harpy, who had been hounding the emo king, decided to ruin it with her voice. Tazuna-san, Sakura began hesitantly, prompting the bridge builder to turn and look at her over his shoulder. What is it, girl? Tazuna replied but was inwardly thinking. I think it's a girl, maybe. You're from Nami no Kuni, Land of Waves, right? Sakura asked. That's right, what about it? Tazuna answered, but the pink-haired girl had already turned to face her teacher. Kakashi-sensei. Did they have shinobi in that country too? Sakura asked. No, not in Nami no Kuni, but in most other countries, the culture and customs may be different, but hidden villages exist and so do ninjas. Kakashi looked at her lazily with his eye but was mentally sighing as his student was taking time away from reading his precious. To the many countries of the continent, the existence of a shinobi village means military power. This is how they hold and maintain advantages over each other, but it's not that the villages rule the countries. They merely stand equally with the country's government. A small island country like Nami no Kuni doesn't receive much interference from the larger countries and does not need a shinobi village. Within the many shinobi villages, Konoha, Kiri, Kumo, Suna and Iwa are the largest and most powerful, commonly referred to as the 5 great shinobi villages. And these are the only villages whose leader receives the name, Cage, Shadow. Kakashi had launched into an explanation that everyone was listening to. The 5 cages are the Hokage, Fire Shadow, Mizukage, Water Shadow, Raikage, Lightning Shadow, Kazekage, Wind Shadow, and Tsuchikage, Stone Shadow. They reign over the thousands of ninja in the world. Wow. Hokage-sama is the best. Sakura squealed, but her inner self disagreed. That lame geezer is that incredible. Sounds fishy. I bet Sasuke-kun could kick his. However, you guys don't have to worry. There won't be any ninja combat on AC ranked mission. Kakashi ruffled Sakura's hair reassuringly. Then, we won't come into contact with any foreign ninjas? Sakura asked with a mental sigh of relief. Ha ha ha, of course not. Kakashi chuckled in reply but missed the slight flinch and nervous look Tazuna had, but Naruto spotted it and frowned slightly. The group walked on in relative silence with a few whispers of conversation until they approached a puddle in the middle of the road. Naruto, Kakashi, Anko and Akane instantly recognized it as a genjutsu. Anko and Akane smirked when they saw that a devious grin had stretched itself across the whiskered blonde's face, while Kakashi lifted an eyebrow but decided to just watch the show. Naruto slowly began to gather Ryutsu into his left palm and it formed a small blue orb that was barely visible. Hado number 33, Sokatsui. Blue fire, crash down. Naruto whispered as a blue beam of fire blasted into the puddle, as he walked past, causing two figures to emerge from it screaming as they rolled on the ground trying to extinguish the flames. You bastard! One of them shouted after the pair had righted themselves after successfully extinguishing the blue flames that had burned their clothes. Ah, Gozu and Maizu, the Oni Kyodai, demon brothers, missing nins from Kurigakure no Sato. Anko said as she recognized the pair. Our reputation seems to precede us, Maizu. Gozu chuckled. That has Gozu, but if you know of us then you must know of our combat speciality. Maizu smirked under his mask as he jingled the shuriken chain linked to each of their gauntlets. Before anyone could move, Naruto had disappeared from the spot and emerged behind the duo and sheathed his katana. Kuroryu no Sume. Black Dragon's Claw, Naruto whispered as a resounding click sounded through the area and the chain was sliced in two. Sasuke fumed that the Dobi had been able to spot the genjutsu when he didn't. Sakura fumed because Sasuke was upset. Kakashi had a smile under his mask at his sensei's son's abilities and Tazuna had a gobsmacked expression. Akane had quickly taken the opportunity to deliver lightning-fast blows to two missing nins' necks, which knocked both of them out. Well done, team. Anko declared proudly with a smirk as Naruto helped Akane tie the demon brothers to a tree. I wish I could say the same for you guys, only Sai managed to figure out that the puddle was a genjutsu. You just had to use some common sense, there shouldn't be a puddle when the weather has been sunny. Kakashi berated his team, causing Sasuke to sneer and turn away, and Sakura went to try and comfort the emo king. Good job in taking their advantage out, Naruto, but I had hoped to figure out who their target was. Kakashi. Naruto shook his head sadly and pointed at a grinning Anko, who was licking a kunai as she approached the two still unconscious and tied up shinobi. Oh right, Kakashi deadpanned as he remembered that Anko was part of the torture and interrogation department. Anko grinned as she cut one of them free and dragged him off into the forest. Kakashi pitied the poor Chunin as he heard cries of pain coming from their direction. All done, they were working with Momochi Zabuza to kill the old drunk. Anko jerked her thumb in the direction of a nervously sweating Tazuna. Interesting, do you have anything to add to that, Tazuna-san? Kakashi asked the bridge builder. Alright, the truth is that I lied about the mission, but I had no choice. Wave had been taken over by a corporate tyrant known as Gedu. He controls all the shipping lanes around Nami no Kuni now. His thugs run rampant over our entire country, doing whatever they please, and our economy has suffered greatly. The bridge I am building is our only way to break free from his tyranny, and the only protection mission we could afford was AC rank. Tazuna explained. Well, that's sad and all, but if it was known that there would be ninjas after you, this would have been AB rank and a proper squad of ninjas would have been sent. As of now, We are operating outside our duties. Kakashi told him. We're not ready for this kind of mission. Let's quit so Hokage-sama can send a proper team to accomplish the mission. Sakura added since she was terrified at the prospect of fighting enemy ninjas. Are you stupid or just a moron? Naruto's voice interrupted their small chat. What did you say, Baka? Sakura screeched with a tick mark on her abnormally large forehead, causing everyone to cover their ears in pain. Our team had just returned from a B-ranked mission when your team entered the office, or have you forgotten? Naruto replied once the ringing had left his ears. But you can go back if you want, but our team is going to continue the mission regardless of how much they paid because Geto is a scum that deserves to die. Naruto growled slightly, causing Tazuna to look at him gratefully. I agree with the Dobi, and Uchiha such as myself will not back down from a mission. Sasuke grunted with a voice filled with arrogance, causing everyone except Sakura to roll their eyes. Whatever you say, Tem, bastard, we should get going while the coward can stay with the two prisoners until Leaf Shinobi come to get them. Naruto directed his gaze at Sakura. No, I'm not a coward. I will show Sasuke-kun my strength. Sakura thought to herself before shaking her head and informing the group that she will continue with the mission as well. So isn't this Geto one of the world's wealthiest people and owns Geto Company? Kakashi asked offhandedly as they walked. Yes, officially he runs a large shipping company, but secretly he sells drugs and other illegal items while using ninjas and gang members to take over businesses and countries. He is a very nasty man. It was about a year ago when he set his eyes on Nami no Kuni. Through money and violence, he quickly took control of the country's shipping industry. Geto now has a monopoly on all business traffic in the country. The only thing he has to fear now is the completion of the bridge. Tazuna replied with a sigh. I see. Since you're the one building the bridge, you're in his way. Sakura deduced with her oh so large brain, causing everyone to roll their eyes. Gee, you think? Naruto responded sarcastically. A few minutes later, the two shinobi teams found themselves on a wooden boat being rowed along by a fisherman friend of Tazuna's. While this mist is seriously thick, I can barely see ahead of us. Akane commented but added inwardly. Unless I channel Yuki to my pupils to enhance my eyesight, we should be able to see the bridge soon. Nami no Kuni is at the base of the bridge. The fisherman stated as the group was just able to make out a blurred image past the mist. That's a big bridge. Naruto whistled in awe at the sheer magnitude of the stone bridge that had just came into view. Wow, it's huge. Sakura screamed. Hey, be quiet. Why do you think we're hiding in the mist and not using the engine? We'll be in deep trouble if Geto's thugs find us. The fisherman whispered harshly, causing Sakura to slap her hands over her mouth in embarrassment. Hey, this is the end of the line for me. I wish you good luck in your efforts, Tazuna and Shinobi Sans. The fisherman said as they alighted before rowing back the way they came. Hey, you guys actually got me back to my country safely. Tazuna sighed in relief as they continued walking, though Kakashi and Naruto were thinking about something. If we get attacked again, it will surely be a Junin-ranked ninja and not a Chunin-ranked one, Kakashi thought gloomily, since that meant he wouldn't be able to read his Ika. My enhanced sense of smell can pick up two distinct scents. One smells like iron and blood while the other smells like ice and snow. Naruto thought as he took discreet sniffs of the air that was only noticed by Akane and Anko. Naruto suddenly flung a kunai straight into some bushes off to the side of the road. Everyone tensed as he walked over slowly and revealed that it was just a white-colored rabbit. Naruto Baka, stop scaring us. And look what you did to the poor rabbit. Sakura screeched as she held the shocked rabbit to her underdeveloped chest. That was a snow rabbit. Its fur changes color depending on the amount of sunlight. White is fur during the winter, so that means this is a rabbit that had been bred indoors for the purpose of Kawarimi no Jutsu, body switch technique. So the enemy is already here. Kakashi glanced around wearily as Naruto, Akane and Anko seemed to have come to the same conclusion. Everybody get down now, Kakashi shouted as he pushed Sakura and Sai to the ground while Sasuke pushed Tazuna down. Naruto merely drew his katana in a flash and deflected the huge cleaver-like sword into another tree trunk, where a figure landed on the sword's handle. The figure was a muscular man with pale skin, short spiky black hair, brown eyes, and small eyebrows. The lower half of his face was covered with white bandages like a mask. He was bare-chested except for a simple sword holster over his chest. He wore pinstriped pants and matching mimetic wrist warmers and leg warmers. Momochi Zabuza, the Kurigakure no Kijin, demon of the hidden mist. Naruto felt a grin stretch across his face at the prospect of fighting such a well-known master of kenjutsu to test himself. Ah, I'm flattered that you know me, but I'm afraid the only people I know from your little group would be Sharingan no Kakashi, Kakashi of the Sharingan. Zabuza chuckled, but he was thinking differently. This kid was able to deflect my blade with just a katana. He must either be freakishly strong or an expert swordsman, or both. Ah, where are my manners? Uzumaki Naruto at your service. Naruto bowed dramatically before turning to Akane. Sorry Akane-chan, but I call dibs on this guy. I've been itching to fight a swordsman of Zabuza's caliber for a while now. Fine. Akane pouted before smirking at him. You owe me for this. Sure, I'll make it up to you tonight. Naruto kissed her on the lips before drawing his katana again and pointing the tip at Zabuza. Yo, Mr. Demon of the Mist, let's find out right now who's the better demonic swordsman. I wanted to fight Kakashi, but my gut instincts tell me that you will be much more interesting to fight, but your flimsy katana won't be able to defeat my Kubikiribocho decapitating carving knife. Zabuza smirked under his bandages. I wouldn't go and underestimate the strength of my sword if I were you. Naruto smirked as well. Good point. Zabuza admitted before kicking off the tree trunk and grabbing his sword free of it at the same time before landing on the lake's surface. Are you sure it's wise to let Naruto fight Zabuza on his own? Kakashi asked Anko, who was chewing on a dango skewer uncaringly. Man, Naruto-kun can handle himself in a fight with that chump. Anko replied with a shrug and grin. What did he mean by Sharingan no Kakashi? Sasuke thought as he glanced at his sensei in confusion, but his unasked question was answered the next second. Would you or your student mind if I use this to observe the fight? Kakashi lifted his slanted headband slightly. Go ahead, it's not like you will be able to copy any of my students' moves. Anko grinned at the surprised look on Kakashi's face, but he just shook it off and lifted his headband up, revealing a scar running over the skin around his eye along with a Sharingan eye. Even he has a Sharingan and he's not even an Uchiha like me. Sasuke clenched his fists in anger that he had yet to activate his clan's famous eye bloodline. Ninpu. Kurigakure no Jutsu. Ninja art. Hidden mist technique, Zabuza whispered as he began emitting a large amount of chakra from his body, which started to create a dense mist around the entire area, effectively cutting off everyone's eyesight. So it begins. Naruto grinned as he shifted into a sword stance as the mist steadily grew thicker and thicker before the air became thick with Zabuza's killing intent. 8 choices. Liver, lungs, spine, clavicle vein, neck vein, brain, kidneys and heart. Which one should I go after? Zabuza used a technique to amplify his voice, which coupled with his impressive killing intent caused Sasuke, Sakura and Tazuna to start sweating in fear. What an incredibly dangerous key. It feels like I'll be killed if I make a single move, that's how heavy the air is right now. Experiencing this for a while is enough to drive a person crazy. The intensity of an opponent like him, it feels like my life is being squeezed. I can't take it, I'd almost rather die now and get it over with. Sasuke trembled as he slowly lifted his kunai to his neck. Wow, and I thought only the Haruno was a coward, but apparently your whole team are cowards. Kakashi. Naruto chuckled as he pointed his katana at Sasuke. Looks like you really are an emo ne. Don't worry Uchiha, while I may not like you in the least, I won't let you die. Yet. Naruto's words seemed to have shaken Sasuke out of his suicidal thoughts, and Kakashi shot him a grateful look, but Naruto had already returned to finding Zabuza. We'll see about that. Zabuza shouted as he suddenly appeared in the middle of the genins of Team 7 and Tazuna and was about to swing his Zanbeitu when Naruto's form appeared in front of him and slashed through his body. Mizu Bushin, water clone, Naruto whispered as the body in front of him burst into water before he switched his katana to his left hand and blocked a side swing of Zabuza's blade. Not bad Gaki, brat. Zabuza grunted as he shifted his weight and kicked out with his left leg, but Naruto caught it with his free hand before it could connect. Not so bad yourself, no brows. Naruto chuckled as Zabuza grew a tick mark on his head while everyone else snickered at the nickname that Naruto gave the missing nin. What did you call me? Zabuza roared as he pulled his leg back and jumped back a few paces. You heard me, no brows. Naruto switched the katana back to his right hand and beckoned for Zabuza to attack him with his left. That's it Gaki, you're dead. Zabuza dashed straight at Naruto with a series of slashes that Naruto managed to avoid or deflect with his katana easily. Naruto grinned as this was exactly the kind of sword battle he had been looking for. He blocked a right swing and slammed a palm into Zabuza's chest. Zabuza stumbled back a few steps and coughed but recovered in time to use Kubikiribocho to block a vicious combination of attacks from the blonde he was fighting. Zabuza parried a strike before bringing his huge blade above his head and slammed it down onto Naruto, who managed to block the blow but grunted at the amount of strength it took. Zabuza grinned underneath his bandages as he drew his leg back and kicked Naruto straight in the stomach since both his arms were occupied with blocking his blade. Naruto's eyes widened slightly before he vanished in a column of smoke, causing Zabuza to pitch forward slightly due to the lack of resistance under his sword suddenly. Zabuza quickly pulled his sword back and looked around for his opponent when a dark chuckle escaped from the surroundings. 8 choices: liver, lungs, spine, clavicle vein, neck vein, brain, kidneys and heart. Which one should I go after? Naruto imitated Zabuza with his demonic voice whilst releasing his own killing intent. Does that sound familiar, Zabu-chan? Zabuza gritted his teeth as he tried to pinpoint the so-called genin that could match his strength, and his eyes widened as he snapped his head up to see a descending Naruto. Kororyu no Koka. Black Dragon's Descent. Naruto used the momentum of his fall to power his attack and unsheathed his katana at the last moment, impacting directly against the flat of Kubikiribocho. Zabuza was thrown backwards by the force of the blow. He stabbed his blade into the ground to prevent himself from flying any further and pulled himself upright. That's a pretty good attack, kid. Now try mine. Sweden. Mizu Kamikiri. Water Release. Rising Water Slicer. Zabuza channeled his water affinity into his blade before pulling it out of the ground in an arc in Naruto's direction. A fast jet of water shot straight through the ground directly at Naruto. The jet was so strong that it literally split the ground it traveled along. Naruto quickly leapt directly up into the air, but it appeared to be part of Zabuza's plan as he had finished forming several hand seals. Sweden. Suiryuden no Jutsu. Water Release. Water Dragon Projectile Technique. Zabuza shouted as the water in the nearby lake started forming into a giant water dragon that roared once before shooting straight at Naruto. Naruto cursed as he didn't have enough time to counter with a high enough spell since it needed incantation, so he sighed. Looks like I have to reveal you sooner than I thought, Naruto mused as he held his katana straight in front of him and started concentrating on his Ryutsu. Kurayami Kara Nukedasu, Kagekote. Emerge from darkness, Shadow Emperor. Naruto whispered as his katana turned completely black in color before he stabbed himself with it, earning gasps from everyone in the area. However, instead of piercing him like it should, the black katana seemed to sink into his body. Zabuza was startled when he saw the kid stab himself after whispering something, but relaxed when he noticed that his water dragon had impacted into the kid. Water sprayed across the sky and rained back down to the earth, but no sign of Naruto could be seen. Everyone looked frantically around for the demonic Shinigami. What's the matter? Did you lose something? A demonic voice asked with amusement as everyone's head snapped over to the voice and gasped when they saw Naruto, who looked much more different than normal. Naruto was now completely shrouded in shadows so that only his outline remained along with a pair of glowing amethyst eyes. What the? Zabuza eloquently expressed what was on everyone's mind. I see you noticed my new look. Naruto grinned, but you couldn't see it, causing everyone to give him a deadpan look. Technically you are my enemy, so why should I be revealing anything to you? Let's just say this is a special ability of my sword, now let's get wild. Naruto dashed towards Zabuza with his hands held outward and two shadow katanas materialized within his grasp and he swung them both at Zabuza, who caught both blows with his larger sword. Naruto smirked as several sharp tendrils erupted from his shadow on the ground and attempted to impale Zabuza, but he managed to leap back in time. What the hell is this kid? Zabuza thought mentally as he swung his huge butcher knife again and again, repeatedly hacking apart the shadow tendrils that chased after him, but they just kept regrowing. Naruto vanished in a blur of speed and appeared in front of a panting Zabuza and punched him into a tree with a large shadow fist. What the hell are you? Zabuza coughed out blood that stained his facial bandages red as he lay injured against the base of the tree. Me. I'm your death. Naruto formed a shadow spear in his hand and was about to plunge it into Zabuza's heart when Tsusenbon came flying out of the tree and piercing Zabuza in the neck. He stiffened for a moment before slumping down. Sorry, that would be me. A surprisingly soft voice said as a hunter nin with a Kurigakure symbol on his mask emerged from the forest. I thank you for your assistance, Shinobi-san. I have been tracking him down for quite a while. You are a Kurigakure hunter nin. Naruto stated simply as he released his Shikai, initial release, and bent down to check Zabuza for a pulse. No pulse, must mean he's dead. Most impressive, you are correct. The masked ninja nodded in Naruto's direction. Hunter nin. Sakura voiced aloud, having found her voice again. Yes, my duty is to hunt down missing nins. I'm a member of the Kurigakure hunter nin forces. The masked ninja replied before vanishing in a swirl of leaves and landed beside Naruto next to Zabuza's dead body. In this world, there exists people younger than you but stronger than me. Kakashi said wisely to Sakura, who looked confused at the young hunter nin. Your battle is now over. And now, if you will excuse me, I have to dispose of this body since it has many secrets that I cannot let fall into enemy hands. Farewell. The hunter nin placed Zabuza's arm over his shoulder and vanished in a swirl of leaves. There was something fishy about that hunter nin. She was the one that smelled like ice and snow, but why only come out after the battle is almost done? Naruto mused to himself before realizing everyone was looking at him. What? What do you mean what? How come you never told me your sword could pull some cool shit like that? Anko poked his chest repeatedly. It slipped my mind. Naruto offered lamely, causing Kakashi to give him a thumbs up and Anko and Akane to facefo at the lame excuse. Dobi, I demand you give me your sword. A weapon like that belongs in the hands of an Uchiha. Sasuke arrogantly demanded as he held his hand out to Naruto. Sasu, Kakashi was about to reprimand his student when Naruto held a hand out to stop him. You want my sword? Well, come and get it then. Naruto said with an emotionless face, causing Sasuke to smirk as he stepped forward and tried to take the katana sheathed at Naruto's waist. Before he could even touch the handle, a spike of shadow shot out of the handle and impaled Sasuke's palm, causing him to let loose a girly scream. Sasuke-kun. Naruto Baka, what did you do to Sasuke-kun? Sakura screeched as she tended to the wound on the Uchiha's hand while Kakashi merely sighed. Are you blind, Haruno? It was the idiot who thought he could take my weapon. It is no fault of mine that my weapon rejected him. Naruto snorted as he walked past the dazed bridge builder. Come on, Tazuna-san, you have to lead the way to your house. Alright. Tazuna stammered as he took the lead and the rest of the group followed. 5 minutes later, Tsunami heard the rhythmic knocking on the front door and placed the last dish away before wiping her hands on a cloth. She unlocked the door and opened it to be greeted to the sight of her father and several strangers. "Tu-san." Tsunami cried out in joy and embraced her father before smacking him upside the head with a frying pan she pulled out of somewhere. How many times have I told you to inform me before you leave? Hey, sorry, but look. I managed to hire some ninjas and they continued the mission despite me lying to them. Tazuna announced only to get smacked with the frying pan again. That's not something to be proud of. Tsunami lectured her father before turning towards the group of ninjas, who had sweat dropped at the scene. Sorry about my dad, my name is Tsunami and please do come in. Everyone had settled down in the living room soon after. Tsunami was busy in the kitchen cooking dinner so they were free to converse. Kakashi-sensei, who was that masked kid? Sakura asked. That's the mask worn by the Kurigakure Special Hunter Nin forces. They are also known as body erasers. Their duty is to completely dispose of the body without a trace. Ninja bodies have many of their village's secrets hidden within them, information on different chakra types to herbs and other different things. For example, if I died, the secrets of the Sharingan could be revealed, and if you don't be careful, then there is always the chance that the enemy could gain something. Kakashi explained. A ninja's body can reveal important information, so by killing and disposing of missing nins who have abandoned their village, the hunter nins protect the information from getting out. They are the specialists that guard the village secrets. Naruto added, but looked like he was thinking about something else. That's right. No sound. No smell. That is a ninja's end. Kakashi finished solemnly. So that Zabuza guy has been chopped up and disposed of. Scary. Sakura shivered as the image of a pile of body parts appeared in her mind. Elsewhere. Somewhere else in the forest, the masked hunter Nin was kneeling beside the still body of Zabuza. Kubikiribocho was stabbed into the ground beside his head. First, I'll cut the bandages around his face, drain some blood, and the masked ninja reached for a pair of scissors and was about to snip the bandages of when Zabuza jerked upright and caught her hand. That's all right, I'll do it myself. Zabuza gasped out. Oh, you've come back to life already. The masked ninja seemed surprised. Damn, you sure are rough. Zabuza commented as he pulled the senbon out of his neck forcefully, each tug accompanied by a squirt of blood. You shouldn't be so rough in pulling them out like that, you could actually die in that case. The masked ninja told him. How long are you going to keep wearing that ridiculous mask? Zabuza grunted as he seemingly ignored the advice. It reminds me of the old days, plus it was useful for this act. The masked ninja slowly removed the porcelain mask to reveal a beautiful female face behind it. If I had left you there, then you would have definitely died. No kidding, that kid was really something else. Zabuza bandaged his neck to prevent any more blood from seeping from the 2 puncture wounds. Hi, what should we do the next time we encounter them? She asked. You won't be back to full mobility for a week at least, but you should be recovered sufficiently in a few days to move about. Efficient as always, Haku. Zabuza eyed the girl beside him. That's how you trained me, Zabuza-sama. Haku giggled in response as she helped him back to the hideout. Back in Tazuna's home. Hey Anko-chan, Naruto called out the snake mistress name. What is it, Naruto-kun? Anko turned to face her. Student. Don't hunter nin normally dispose of the target's body directly on the spot? Naruto asked. Yes they do, you don't mean. Anko exclaimed suddenly with her eyes wide as Akane caught on to their train of thought as well. I see you came to the same conclusion as me, Naruto. Kakashi I smiled, causing the remaining genin, except Sai, to look back and forth between Kakashi and Naruto. What do you mean? Sakura asked after her patience, the little amount she had worn out. What Naruto meant was, Zabuza is still alive. Kakashi replied as Sasuke looked surprised while Sakura and Tazuna were completely shocked. What do you mean, Kakashi-sensei? Naruto checked the body for a pulse and confirmed it was dead. Sakura stammered. That hunter nin used senbon, a weapon that unless it hits a vital organ, it has a low possibility of killing your opponent. It's even an item used by doctors in acupuncture therapy. Hunter nins are required to know all about the human body, so putting a person into a momentary state of death is probably easy for them. First, the hunter nin carried away the body of the much heavier Zabuza rather than destroy it on the spot. Second, He used a weapon that has a low probability of killing. These two facts indicate that his motive was not to kill Zabuza but to save him. Kakashi listed out his reasoning. Aren't you putting a little too much thought into this? Tazuna asked, hoping that it was just the ninja's paranoia. No, all these evidence state that Zabuza is definitely still alive and kicking. He will probably be healed by the end of the week and be back, probably with reinforcements. Naruto sighed inwardly as he saw that Sakura looked ready to shit her pants. Now if you'll excuse me, I'm going to take a nap, the day has been pretty exhausting for me. Naruto walked up the stairs to the second floor of Tazuna's house where the bedrooms were. Akane made to follow him but was blocked by Sasuke's hand. Why are you following the Dobi when you could have an Uchiha? Sasuke smirked, his trademark smirk causing several reactions through the room. Sakura looked ready to explode. Kakashi face-palmed. Anko smirked as she knew what was coming while Akane merely stared at him. And exactly in what way are you better than Naru-kun? Akane lifted an eyebrow as she crossed her arms. I'm an Uchiha, we are the elites of the village and everyone else pales in comparison to us. Sasuke declared arrogantly. Then Mr. Elite Uchiha, why didn't you detect the genjutsu puddle, or why did you try killing yourself when Zabuza appeared? Akane asked rhetorically, causing Sasuke to grit his teeth and clench his fists. That won't happen again when I activate my Sharingan. He boasted, causing Akane to lift him by his shirt's collar and slam him against the wall, and she punched Sakura dead in the forehead when she tried to save her. Sasuke-kun. Listen well, Uchiha, because I am only going to say this once. You are nothing but an insect compared to either me or Naru-kun. You are a coward who expects everything to be served to him on a silver platter just because of your name, but you know what? Akane grinned and revealed her elongated canines. I hate Uchihas and I hate the Sharingan. With that said, Akane slammed him against the wall once more and then tossed him on top of his number one fangirl before climbing up the stairs. What was that about? Kakashi asked Anko, who merely shrugged. Something about her past. Ask her if you want to know. I think I will be heading upstairs as well. Anko replied as she stood up and made her way up the stairs as well, leaving Kakashi with a blank-faced sigh, fuming Sasuke and unconscious Sakura. You guys are going to need some serious training, Kakashi sighed as he inwardly cried anime tears as he looked up at the ceiling. Kami-sama, why do you hate me? Naruto was sitting on the edge of his assigned bed when he felt a pair of arms encircle him from behind. He smiled slightly as he recognized the owner's smell. Hey Akane-chan, Naruto greeted the demoness and leaned back into her embrace. Something bothering you? The Uchiha tried to get me to be his mate, arrogant fool. Akane replied but pushed Naruto back down onto the bed as he growled and attempted to rise. Don't worry, I put him in his place already. I'm beginning to think I should have just let the little arrogant bastard kill himself. Naruto said as he shifted his position so Akane's head was on his lap and ran his hands through her blood-red hair. I think so too. Akane giggled as Anko entered the room as well and laid her head against Naruto's shoulder. What were you two discussing? Anko asked curiously. Nothing important. Just wondering if I should have let the arrogant fool commit suicide. Naruto shrugged slightly as he didn't want to disturb Anko's resting spot. But it isn't as satisfactory if the little bastard takes his own life. Anko mused as Naruto used one hand to rub his chin thoughtfully. I guess you're right, Naruto admitted. Hey Naru-kun, was that your Shikai? Akane asked seriously after a small moment of silence. Yeah, it was. Naruto replied after a slight hesitation. Wow, hold up, what's a Shikai? Anko asked in confusion. You know that this is my Zanpakuto, right? Naruto lifted up his sheathed katana and getting a nod from Anko. Well, each Zanpakuto has two separate, special abilities. The first is known as Shikai or Initial Release. Shikai differs for everyone and no two people can have the same Zanpakuto. It effectively increases your combat ability by at least double or triple depending on how strong your Shikai is. That's a lot of power. Anko whistled in awe. Yes it is, but there is still the second stage, which is simply known as Bankai or Final Release. Bankai allows you to access more special abilities, usually an improved version of your Shikai, but sometimes they can be completely different. Bankai boosts your power level by at least 5 to 10 times again depending on your Zanpakuto. Naruto explained. Wow, so have you achieved this Bankai thing yet? Anko asked. Unfortunately no, but I'm close. Naruto stared at his katana before looking at Akane. I know you have a Zanpakuto as well, so do you have Bankai Akane-chan? Well I do, but I haven't used it in several centuries already. Akane's hand strayed to her own Zanpakuto which hung at her waist. I see. Kagekote is the strongest shadow Zanpakuto. Naruto smirked as he felt his Zanpakuto hum in agreement. Well, we should probably go down for dinner. Naruto and his team walked down just as a small boy walked up past them. Naruto gave Kakashi a curious look as there was a fuming Sakura in the room. That's Tazuna's grandson Inari. He apparently lost someone important to Geto and thinks that we are going to die as well, so he told Sakura that and she blew up at him. Kakashi recounted what happened, causing Naruto to nod in understanding. The shinobi team sat down at the dinner table as Tsunami began setting the dishes on the table. They quietly dug into their meal with murmurs of gratitude. Tsunami-chan, let me help you with the dishes. Naruto offered as everyone left the table after they had finished. That's quite alright Naruto-san, there's no need for you to help. Tsunami blushed a little at the handsome young man calling her name with the affectionate suffix. Nonsense, think of it as my way of saying thanks for the lovely meal. Naruto gave her his foxy grin, which just caused her to blush further but conceded to his help in the end. So Naruto chatted with her about Inari as he helped her wash the dishes. He learned all about Kaiza and how he was killed by Geto. I see, so that's what happened. Yes, unfortunately Inari has never been the same since Kaiza's death. Tsunami sighed as she wiped the last plate clean and gave Naruto a small smile. Well Naruto-kun, thank you for your help. It is my pleasure to offer my services to such a beautiful young lady such as yourself, Tsunami-chan. Naruto grinned as he kissed her hand before leaving the kitchen, leaving a blushing Tsunami behind. Gaki, isn't two girls enough for you? Naruto turned around to see a grinning Tazuna leaning against the wall. Let me think. Nope. Naruto smirked at his reply as Tazuna chuckled. Kid, I would like to thank you for protecting me and still continuing the mission even though you didn't have to. Tazuna said seriously, but Naruto just waved it off. Think nothing of it. Naruto replied before heading back to his room. Naruto opened the door to see Akane sitting on their bed and blinked. Didn't you say you would repay me tonight, Naru-kun? Akane cooed as she sauntered up to him and pressed her bare body against his clothed one. That I did. Naruto smirked as he kissed her passionately on the lips as he began removing all of his clothing. He was so engrossed that he forgot to apply a silencing seal to the room. As a result, not many people managed to get much sleep that night, especially one mother whose room was right beside the couple's. Zabuza's hideout. Haku sat on a chair overlooking Zabuza's condition when she heard the door creak open. She turned around to see Geto and two of his lackeys with him. So even the mighty Zabuza has come back defeated. It looks like the Kiri ninjas are really pathetic. Geto taunted as he walked in. You can't even avenge your own men and you call yourself a demon. Don't make me laugh. Zabuza chose not to reply to the midget tyrant. Hey you, reply when I'm talking to you. Geto reached out to grab Zabuza's bandages but yelped when he felt someone grab his arm forcefully. Don't you dare touch Zabuza-sama with your filthy hands. Haku glared at him, causing both of Geto's samurai guards to draw their blades, but they found their swords at their own necks in an instant. Haku had instantly moved from sitting in the chair to snatching both their weapons and positioned them at their owners' throats. You shouldn't do that when I'm angry. One more chance. If you fail one more time then you won't be getting paid. Geto shouted before leaving with both his bodyguards. Haku, you didn't have to do that, Zabuza murmured as he revealed that he had a kunai in his hand the entire time. I know, but it's too early to kill Gato because they will be after us again if we cause a commotion here. We must be patient. Haku smiled at him, causing Zabuza to feel the strange urge to ruffle her hair like a proud father would, but he quickly shook off the thought. Yeah, you're right. Zabuza drifted back to sleep. Sunlight streamed through the gap between the curtains covering the window and onto the sleeping whiskered face of Naruto, who groaned as he opened his eyes and squinted at the window. Son, I swear one day I will find a way to cover it in shadows. Naruto swore in his thoughts and tried to get up but felt a weight on his chest. He looked down and saw Akane on his chest before remembering the night's events. Oh right, he. Akane-chan, wake up. Naruto shook the slumbering demoness slightly by the shoulder but just received a mumbled response that he couldn't make out. Time to wake up, Akane-chan. 5 more minutes, Akane muttered and snuggled closer to Naruto, causing him to chuckle slightly. As much as I love doing nothing but lying in bed with you, we have to get down to the table for breakfast. Naruto whispered into her ear, earning a pleasant shiver from the redhead. Fine. Akane sighed as she rolled of his body, causing the sheets to fall to the floor, revealing that they were both underneath it. Naruto gave her a quick kiss on the lips as he passed her on his way to the shower. He took a quick bath before donning a fresh set of clothes and exiting so Akane could have her turn. Naruto and Akane came down the stairs and entered the kitchen to find that everyone was seated at the table already. Everyone turned to look at them and went through different reactions. Sai stared at them blankly. Sakura blushed and glanced between them and Sasuke. Sasuke sneered before shivering at the glances. Kakashi I smiled with a perverted giggle. Inari looked at them confused before turning away. Tazuna glanced at them. Tsunami blushed and suffered a nosebleed. Had fun last night, you two? Kakashi asked with an unseen grin underneath his mask. Definitely better than any you ever had. Akane smirked in response. Why wasn't I invited? It could have been a threesome. Anko exclaimed with a pout, causing even more reactions to pass throughout the room. Sai and Inari still looked uncaring. Sasuke flushed slightly. Sakura looked ready to faint. Kakashi had dropped his with a wide eye and bloody nose. Tazuna spat out his tea onto Sakura's face and Tsunami shot back from a nosebleed. Sorry Anko-chan. Last night was for Akane-chan only. Naruto chuckled and the duo sat down with the rest of them and tucked into their breakfast as Sakura used a napkin to wipe off the tea on her forehead. Alright team, now that we know we are going against Zabuza again, I guess it's time for more training. Kakashi drawled lazily as he addressed his team after breakfast, with Team 11 standing nearby. Anyo Kakashi-sensei, what kind of training will we be doing? Sakura asked in curiosity while Sasuke was just glad to be learning something new so he can go obsess over his brother some more. I don't want to ruin the surprise, so follow me, we're going out into the woods. Kakashi I smiled as he led his team out of the house with a curious Team 11 in tow. What do you think Kakashi is going to teach them? Naruto asked as he walked with Akane and Anko on either side of him. Well, Kakashi is a formidable Junin, Anko mused as they finally stopped in a small clearing where Kakashi turned around and looked at his team. The training will be. Kakashi paused as almost everyone leaned in slightly in anticipation. Climbing trees. Team 11 all face vaulted while Team 7 merely looked at their teacher in confusion. Team 11 recovered in an instant and sighed simultaneously. I know you said he was lazy and all, but seriously, this is just, wow. Naruto deadpanned at Anko. I know. Anko's sweat dropped. His laziness knows no bounds. Akane shook her head in exasperation. Kakashi-sensei, we already know how to climb trees. Sakura finally pointed out, but Kakashi just smiled at her. I wasn't finished. You are going to climb trees, without your hands. Kakashi chuckled inwardly at the flabbergasted looks that two of his genin were sending him. Isn't that impossible, sensei? Sakura asked. There is no such thing as impossible in a ninja's dictionary, Sakura. Now does everyone here know what is chakra? Kakashi nodded satisfactory as his team answered in the affirmative. Good. Now watch closely. Team 7 watched with mouths agape as their sensei walked up to a tree before placing a foot on the tree trunk and continued walking straight up the tree, as if it was the ground itself, until he hung upside down on a branch. Show off, Anko muttered as she watched. This is known as the tree climbing exercise, and the point of it is to teach you better chakra control since the bottom of your feet is the hardest place to channel your chakra. Kakashi explained before walking back down the tree and onto the ground. What is the point of this exercise? I already can use my chakra to perform jutsus. Sasuke said arrogantly, earning a squeal from Sakura and sighs from everyone else, yes, even Sai. Chakra control is as important as knowing how to perform jutsus because without proper chakra control, you wouldn't be able to perform higher rank techniques as they would drain too much chakra. Plus this would enable you to fight on vertical surfaces and on water, which is a practical skill during fights. Kakashi pointed out, to which their residential emo just, HNED, in response. Kakashi threw 3 kunai and 1 landed in front of each of his genin. Use those to mark how high you have gotten, and since you are new to this I suggest a running start. Also take note that too little chakra and you slip off, but too much and you get blasted off. What's the matter, Dobi? Your team's so stupid that they can't even comprehend what our sensei explained. Sasuke smirked his typical Uchiha clan smirk. Comprehend? Such a big word, Uke-chan. Be careful or you might accidentally overload your brain. Plus our team already mastered the tree climbing exercise, as well as the water walking exercise and the kunai balancing exercise. Naruto demonstrated by walking up a nearby tree trunk whilst balancing a kunai on his nose, causing Sasuke to grit his teeth and turn away. Don't call Sasuke-kun gay, Naruto baka. Sakura screeched with her banshee frequency voice, causing everyone in the immediate vicinity to cover their ears lest they lose their hearing. Geez bitch, are you sure that one of your ancestors wasn't a banshee? Akane snarled as she uncovered her ears. Sakura, get to climbing. Kakashi glared at her, causing the pink-haired girl to cower for a moment before grabbing the kunai and running off to a tree. Sorry for my students' behavior, they still have yet to learn their place. Don't worry about it, Kakashi, I just can't wait for a chance to knock the arrogant look right off that prick's face. Naruto grinned at the thought. I'll be waiting eagerly for that day, Naruto. Kakashi sighed before looking at Anko with his uncovered eye. Anko, since your team has no need for training, I suggest that you guys go guard Tazuna at the bridge. Sure thing, Cyclops. Anko chirped, causing Kakashi to groan at the common nickname as she and Team 11 left the clearing. At the bridge, Tazuna was surprised when Team 11 had appeared at the bridge since he thought they were training, but shrugged as he already knew how powerful the male of the team was and was glad that it was Naruto that was guarding him. Hey Tazuna. A voice suddenly called out. What is it, Gichi? Tazuna asked a man wearing a sweatband around his forehead. I've been doing a lot of thinking recently and decided, can I stop working on the bridge? Gichi replied with a sigh. Why is that? Not you too. Tazuna shouted in shock. Tazuna, I'm sorry, but we've been close to finishing for the past week. I really want to help you finish the bridge, but I fear that if we continue, Getu will come after us. And if you get killed, then what's the point? Gichi said before looking Tazuna right in the eyes. Why don't we quit building the bridge? Team 11 remained silent as they witnessed the exchange between Tazuna and his worker, choosing not to interfere since this was not part of their mission. I can't do that because this bridge is our bridge, this is the bridge we started building together, believing it would bring resources into our poor country. Tazuna replied firmly. But if we lose our lives? Gichi tried to counter but felt a hand on his shoulder. He turned around to see that Naruto was behind him. Go ahead, take the coward's way out. I heard from Tsunami about Kaiza and how he risked his life over and over again just for the betterment of this country. Naruto's voice held a cold tone to it. Don't you dare speak about Kaiza as if you knew him. He was a hero to our village. And yet you spit on his sacrifice. This bridge is the only thing that can save your country from Getu, isn't that what Kaiza wanted? Kaiza willingly put his life on the line multiple times, but you can't even do it once. your country is suffering and you only care about yourself, people like you disgust me. Naruto growled, causing Gichi to look down and clench his fists in shame. You're right, how can I face my family and friends if I can't even, Tazuna? I'm continuing to work on the bridge. Gichi shouted before running back to the other workers with a renewed vigor. Kid, I don't know how to thank you, you protected me from Getu and prevented a loss of a worker. Tazuna said, I know it isn't part of my job, but I can't stand by and do nothing, and you can thank me by calling me by my name instead of kid. Naruto replied. Alright, Naruto. Tazuna chuckled as he went back to work as well. What prompted you to help out? Anko asked curiously when Naruto walked back over to his team. This village, it reminds me of me in certain ways. I was weak before the Mizuki incident just like the village is now, but if I can turn out the way I am now, I'm sure this village will be able to as well. Naruto gave her a small smile. Several hours later at Tazuna's home, Team 11 was sighted at the dining table with Tazuna, Inari and Tsunami since work on the bridge was done for the day when Team 7 trudged in through the door followed by an amused Kakashi. So how did the training go, Kakashi? Anko asked as Team 7 went to take a shower first. Sakura was able to make it to the top on her first try, but that's because she has a pathetically small amount of chakra. Sasuke still hasn't reached the top yet but is making progress, while Sai made it to the top on his first try as well. He must have done this exercise before. Kakashi stated with a frown as he remembered that the Sandaime had told him to watch that boy. Bet the Tem was pissed off about that, huh? Naruto asked with a smirk. Unfortunately, yes. When Sakura approached him to give him some tips, he replied, and I quote, I am an Uchiha, I do not need a lowly peasant's help. I would be lucky just to get them to get along, teamwork is completely out of the question. Kakashi shook his head sadly with a sigh. Then why did you pass them? Akane asked. You want to know the truth? I didn't want to pass them, but the elders and civilian council threatened me with insubordination if I didn't comply with their wishes and pass the Uchiha. Kakashi said bitterly. Well, what's done is done, no point brooding over it or you might turn into Sasuke. Naruto said, causing everyone to snicker before Team 7's genins came down and everyone started to eat their lunch. Sasuke finished his bowl of rice in record time but instantly felt sick and threw up afterwards. Sakura shrieked and went to help him, but he knocked her hand aside. Sasuke, you shouldn't eat so much at that speed, Kakashi sighed. I have to keep up my strength so I can get back to training. Sasuke replied simply. Why do you even try so hard? Inari suddenly asked. What are you talking about, brat? Sasuke demanded. I said, why do you bother training so hard? Getu is just going to kill you all. Nobody can stop him. Inari repeated in a dead tone. I am an Uchiha, a lowly person such as Getu would easily fall to my power. Sasuke declared arrogantly as Team 11 and Kakashi rolled their eyes. You don't know how powerful Getu is, you don't know anything about our suffering. Inari yelled. Don't know anything about suffering. I've had my entire clan killed by my elder brother and he used a jutsu to make me watch him kill the clan over and over again for 72 hours, don't tell me I don't know anything about suffering. Sasuke moved to punch Inari, but Naruto appeared in front of Inari and caught his fist. Give him a break. He's just a kid and he isn't a ninja either, so he doesn't know anything. Naruto squeezed Sasuke's fist harder, causing him to grimace. Whatever, Dobi, you don't even know how it is to suffer. Sasuke sneered as Naruto looked down, causing his bangs to cover his eyes and his shoulders started shaking. It took a while before everyone realized he was laughing. That's a good one, Tem. Let me tell you a little story, nay. There was a little orphan boy in Konoha. Everywhere he went the villagers glared at him and called him names behind his back. This boy would be denied service in almost every shop he visited, so he couldn't even get the basic necessities to live. This boy was kicked out of the orphanage at the age of 4 to live on the streets. He scavenged through the trash just to find something to eat. Naruto glared at Sasuke with slitted amethyst pupils. That wasn't all. The villagers gathered on his birthday every year to hunt him down and beat him until he was near death. The boy went to attend the ninja academy because he believed that if he was a ninja then everyone would acknowledge him. Instead, all but one of the instructors sabotaged his grades and training. Guess who that boy was? It was me. Naruto snarled at Sasuke, who had started shaking under the killing intent being released by Naruto. At least you knew what it was like to have a loving family. I would have killed just to spend a day knowing what it was like. So don't you dare claim that I don't know suffering Uchiha, because I bet you wouldn't even survive a week in my childhood. Naruto spat in his face before dumping him on the ground unceremoniously and heading out the door. Oh dear Kami, was everything he said true? Tsunami whispered with tears in her eyes. Unfortunately it isn't. Naruto's childhood was even worse than that, he just sugar-coated it for you guys. Kakashi replied sadly. How could your villagers do such things to a mere child? Tazuna asked with a hint of anger in his voice. Don't ask me, for I have no idea. Enko, is he going to be alright? Kakashi asked the snake mistress. Yeah, he's just going to blow off some steam. Enko told him as Sasuke finally picked himself up from the floor and made his way to his room silently with his loyal lapdog Sakura in tow. Akane remained silent, but if you looked into her eyes, you would be able to see the worry inside them. He had it way harder than I did, but he continues on. How does he do it? Inari thought to himself as he stared at the door. With Naruto in the forest. Naruto had spent half an hour simply destroying the trees and landscape of the area around him with various Hado spells and his Zanpakuto, but didn't activate his Shikai. He finally stopped and slumped against a tree trunk with Kagekote in his lap. I almost lost myself to a demonic rage back there, Naruto cursed mentally. Relax, Naruto-kun, it was perfectly reasonable that you reacted in that fashion. Kagekote's voice drifted through their mental link. Hold on, it's easier to communicate when we're face to face. Naruto closed his eyes in meditation and found himself being pulled into his soulscape. Naruto's soulscape. Naruto opened his eyes to find himself in a familiar black-themed royal-looking bedroom. He felt a pair of slender arms encircle him from behind and a smooth cheek nuzzle his own. I missed you, Naru-kun. A regal yet feminine voice whispered into his ear, causing Naruto to chuckle and broke free of the mysterious lady's grasp and turn around. The woman in front of him looked to be in her 20s with flowing black hair that fell down her back and over her face in two bangs. She wore a midnight blue kimono that did nothing to hide her curvaceous figure, and she looked at him with onyx pupils that sparkled with mirth. I missed you too, Kage-chan. Naruto smiled genuinely as he pulled his Zanpakuto spirit into a hug as he discreetly felt her up, earning a playful slap on his shoulder. Hey, no touching unless I say so. Kage scowled playfully. With a body like this, can you blame me? Naruto smirked, causing Kage to giggle and kiss him passionately on the lips. Always the charmer, Naru-kun. Kage smiled as she pulled him down beside her onto the bed. You know, I still find it ironic that your name means Shadow Emperor, and you are female. Shouldn't it have been Shadow Empress? Naruto chuckled as Kage looked away with a pout. It isn't my fault that your soul named me that. Now that I think about it, it's your fault that I got this name. Kage poked him in the chest. In my defense, I only had a split second to realize what was going on when I used that jutsu, so my soul probably was caught by surprise as well. Naruto pointed out with a grin. I guess that's true. Kage sighed as she looked at the wall of her room. What's the matter? Naruto asked the obviously depressed spirit. Nothing. Kage answered quickly but still refused to look Naruto in the eyes. I know it isn't nothing. Come on, you can tell me. Technically I'm the only one you can tell, but that's beside the point. Naruto grabbed her chin gently with one hand and turned her head to face him and was shocked to see tears in her eyes. Hey, why are you crying? I told you it was nothing, Baka. Kage sniffed as she used the sleeve of her kimono to wipe her tears, but Naruto's hand stopped hers. And I told you that I don't believe you. Naruto replied as he used his free hand to wipe away her tears and planted a kiss on her nose. It's just that you get to spend so much time with your other mates on the outside but you hardly come in here to visit. I guess I just want to be able to feel what the other girls can instead of being stuck in here. Cage finally admitted. Oh, I'm so sorry, Cage Heim. I didn't know that you felt left out. I promise that I will redouble my efforts in my Bankai training so that I can materialize you in the real world. Naruto hugged her tightly against his body. You promise? Cage looked up at Heim hopefully. Hi, I promise and I don't break my promises. Naruto whispered and just held her until they eventually fell asleep in each other's arms. Next morning, Haku made sure that Zabuza was comfortable before she placed her mask on a nearby dresser and untied her hair, allowing the silky raven locks to fall all the down to her mid-back. She changed out of her hunter nin outfit and into a sleeveless pink kimono and grabbed a basket before leaving the house. The sun was already shining in the sky when Haku walked through the forest. She smiled as a small bird landed on her shoulder and raised a hand to stroke it. If I'm not mistaken, then the field of herbs should be around here. Haku's train of thought died as she openly gaped at the scene of destruction that greeted her. What the happened here? Haku exclaimed in shock before seeing Naruto sleeping at the base of a tree with his Zanpakuto in his lap. Isn't that the person responsible for Zabuza-sama's defeat? Haku moved closer to the sleeping form of Naruto before noticing the leaf headband tied around his shoulder. He's the ninja, so that means, this is the sword he used to gain those strange shadow powers. I just have to reach out and snap his neck before taking his katana back to Zabuza-sama. Just snap his neck. Haku's hand inched closer to Naruto's neck before she sighed and shook him awake instead. Huh. Naruto yawned and rubbed the sleep from his eyes, causing Haku to have to hold in the cry of, kawaii. That almost burst out of her mouth. Hey, if you sleep out here, you might catch a cold. Haku told him with a gentle smile. That's no problem for me, my body is immune to any form of diseases. Naruto replied as he finally got a good sniff of the raven-haired girl in front of him. So it's you. Oh, is that so? Tell me, are you a shinobi? Haku asked. As a matter of fact, I am. How did you know? Naruto decided to see where her conversation was going. You are wearing the headband of a shinobi village on your left shoulder. Haku pointed out, to which Naruto felt the urge to face palm at his own stupidity. Oh right, so what are you doing out here? Haku. So what are you doing out here, Haku? Naruto asked the ice user. I came out into the forest to collect some herbs for my friend who is currently ill. Haku lied with a smile before pointing at the destroyed field and did an admirable feat of holding in her twitching eyebrow. Which was over there until it was destroyed. Oops, my bad. Naruto's sweat dropped when he realized that he might have gone a tad bit overboard with the mindless destruction, if the blackened craters and diced up tree trunks were anything to go by. So it was you who did all this? Haku gestured to the area surrounding them. Yeah, Naruto replied hesitantly. So you must be pretty strong. Haku stated, causing Naruto to shrug. Stronger than your typical ninja. Naruto answered honestly since it was the truth. Tell me, ninja-san. Naruto. Tell me, Naruto, why do you continue to grow stronger? For what reason do you want to gain more power? Haku asked quietly as she looked right into Naruto's eyes. His eyes, they look like mine. He has experienced a similar childhood to me. I have many reasons, but the main one is because I want to protect all of the people that are precious to me. Naruto said as he thought of Akane and Anko. Then you will truly become a great ninja because I believe that true strength only comes from protecting that which is precious to you. Haku told him with her usual smile. I know what you mean, and I'm sorry about destroying your herb supply. Naruto rubbed the back of his head sheepishly before snapping his fingers. Hey, let me make it up to you by helping you look for another source. That would be most appreciated. Haku said with a small giggle before Naruto created several shadow clones to comb the area for another patch of herbs, which Haku had described the appearance to him. Found it. A clone's voice echoed from several feet away from their location before dispelling. Naruto led the way to a small field filled with several herbs. Haku immediately started collecting the required herbs, and with Naruto's clones helping, it only took a few seconds. Arigato Naruto for helping me find the herbs. Haku thanked him as she stood up to walk away. Anything for a beautiful lady. Naruto replied with a foxy grin, causing Haku to feel the heat rising to her cheeks, thanking the gods that she was already facing away from him. I am a boy. Haku lied smoothly. Sure. And you aren't working for Zabuza either. Naruto retorted sarcastically, with his grin still in place as Haku stiffened up. Relax. I'm not going to kill you. How did you know I was working for Zabuza-sama? Haku asked as she turned around. Enhanced senses, my dear. You have the same smell as the hunter Nin, the smell of ice and fresh snow. Naruto smirked as Haku looked surprised. If you know it's me, then why are you letting me go? Haku asked with genuine curiosity. Naruto just gave her a small smile. Your eyes, they tell a similar story to mine. Naruto whispered loud enough for Haku to catch. She found herself walking back to the shadow wielder. I was just a few years old when it all happened. I was playing near a puddle of water when I suddenly started manipulating the wall into a sphere with just hand gestures. I was surprised by this and hurried to show my Ka-san, thinking that she would be happy. Instead, she just slapped me and told me to never do that again. However, my father had already seen it, and Haku paused as tears started falling down her face at the memory. She didn't even know why she was telling this to her enemy. Since you were with Zabuza means you were from Kurigakure, where the bloodline purges are happening. Naruto could already guess what had happened and pulled Haku into a comforting hug. He called together the villagers and came to our house. They wanted to kill me and my Ka-san just because we had bloodlines. Ka-san tried to protect me, but she was killed. I covered my head and screamed. The next thing I saw was the entire mob impaled on gigantic ice spikes. Haku had unconsciously snuggled deeper into Naruto's embrace as she retold her childhood. Her tears finally stopped. I quickly ran out of the house as fast and as far away as possible, but I eventually collapsed due to exhaustion. I didn't know what to do. My life had no purpose, but Zabuza-sama found me. He took me in and trained me. From then on, my purpose was to serve Zabuza-sama as his loyal tool. I see. I guess it's only fair that I tell you about me. Naruto sighed as he scratched his chin. Let's see. Where to begin? Okay, 12 years ago the Kyuubi no Yoko attacked Konohagakure and the Yondaime Hokage went out to confront her. Yes, the mighty Kyuubi is female, but he couldn't defeat her, so he did the next best thing. He used a seal powered by Shinigami-sama to seal the Kyuubi into his newborn child. Yes, that child was me. The retard wished that the village would see me as a hero for holding back the Kyuubi, but instead they treated me like I was the Kyuubi incarnate. Naruto growled as he began to leak killing intent, but Haku's gentle hug calmed him down. I was placed in an orphanage with no knowledge of who my parents were. The matrons there refused to let the other children near me, so I was alone in there until I was kicked out at the age of 4. That's terrible. Haku gasped in horror. That's not the end of it, I'm afraid. I lived in a cardboard box for 2 years before the Sandaime realized it and gave me an apartment to stay in. I was denied service in almost every store I entered. As a result, I couldn't even get basic living necessities such as food and clothes. I saw how the populace respected ninjas, so I thought if I became one then they would accept me, but almost all the instructors at the academy kept sabotaging me. Mobs always gather on my birthday, which happens to be the anniversary of the Kyuubi's attack, and hunt me down before beating me mercilessly. Naruto had to use all his willpower to keep his rage in check. Didn't anyone bother to save you? Haku asked. Her tone clearly showed that she was disgusted with the village. A few Anbu members and ninjas as well as the Sandaime, they are probably the reason I'm still here talking to you. Well, this year was the 3rd time I failed the Genin exam, but one of my instructors, Mizuki, told me that if I stole the Forbidden Scroll and learned a jutsu from it then I will pass. I was an idiot back then and believed it. Basically, I ended up learning and using a jutsu that caused me to merge with Kyuubi's power as well as a piece of Shinigami-sama's soul. Naruto finally finished retelling his tale. You suffered through all that and you remain loyal to your village, why? Haku asked. Who said that I was loyal? I only remained in the village because of several people, but I'm planning to leave the village when an opportunity arises. Naruto replied before a thought occurred to him. Wasn't Zabuza banished due to a failed assassination attempt on the Yondaime Mizukage? That's what he told me, why do you ask? Haku asked. I think I have a proposal for Zabuza that he would be most interested in. Naruto answered with a demonic grin stretched out across his face. A week later, Naruto was asleep with Anko and Akane on either side of him when a feminine scream woke him up in an instant, causing him to look around the room before realizing it came from outside the window. Naruto jumped out of bed and looked out the window to an interesting sight. Two strange-looking, katana-wielding thugs were holding Tsunami hostage when Inari had suddenly ran out of the house and shouted for them to release his mother. Naruto cursed when he saw one of the thugs unsheath his blade and rushed at Inari, who had closed his eyes and waited for the inevitable. Tsunami was about to scream when in the place of Inari was just a sliced-up log. She blinked and looked again. Nope, it was still a log. Where the hell did the log come from? The thug wearing a bandana scratched his head in confusion since he was pretty sure that the log was a small kid a moment ago. You do not question where the log comes from, for the log will always come when you call for it, as it is a part of your soul. A voice replied sagely from behind them. They turned around to see Naruto standing there with a hand on a confused-looking Inari's head. Naruto ni-san, Inari exclaimed when he realized who his savior was before everyone there realized on very important fact. Why the hell are you? Three voices exclaimed loudly, the exception being Tsunami since she was preoccupied with staring at Naruto's package with a ferocious blush. I was sleeping in the when I was woken by the scream. You seriously expected me to put on some clothes when a life was in danger? Naruto asked in disbelief as the two thugs tried to avert their eyes before he looked down at Inari, who was also averting his eyes. What you did was very brave, Inari. Just make sure next time you can actually defeat your opponent before rushing in. Naruto ruffled Inari's hair before sinking into a shadow portal, causing both thugs to snap to attention and scan the area cautiously. They let out simultaneous cries of pain as Naruto rose out of their shadows and impaled each of them on an arm. Naruto kicked both bodies of his arms with a wet squelching sound before washing his hands in a nearby water source. He would normally lick it off, but no need to mentally scar the kid. Are you alright? Naruto asked as he untied Tsunami. Why yeah. Tsunami stuttered with the massive blush still in place with only one thought going through her mind. 9 inches, 9 inches, 9 inches. Good, now I need both of you to stay here. Our team is going to head for the bridge to protect your father. Don't worry, I will leave a couple of clones to patrol the premises and guard you. Naruto stated with a grin before shadow walking back into the room to find that Anko and Akane were fully dressed already. And here I thought I was the only one who liked to show off my body. Anko grinned and licked her lips as Naruto started pulling on his clothes. Didn't take you to be a Naru-kun. Akane commented with an equally mischievous grin, causing Naruto's eyebrow to start twitching uncontrollably. I am not a nudist. I didn't have enough time to put on my clothes since Inari's life was in immediate danger. Naruto yelled with a tick mark on his head. Sure. I bet you just wanted to flash the MILF, nay. Anko grinned perversely as Naruto flushed slightly. Shut up. Naruto retorted as he finished changing and grabbed both his mates and disappeared into a shadow portal. At the bridge, Team 11 rose out a shadow and immediately heard the sounds of battle. Naruto saw that Kakashi was fighting against Zabuza while Haku had Sasuke trapped inside a dome constructed out of ice mirrors. Haku hopped from mirror to mirror as she showered the onyx-eyed genin with a barrage of Senbons. Initially he had been unable to even keep up with her speed, but he had activated his Sharingan mid-fight and suddenly started predicting her movements. Unfortunately for Sasuke, the wounds that were inflicted prior to his Sharingan's activation were weighing him down, which gave Haku plenty of opportunities to attack. As a result, the Uchiha now looked like a porcupine with Senbon sticking out of his body in random places. Haku was growing bored before noticing that Naruto had finally arrived. He gave her a nod and she sighed in relief before knocking out Sasuke with a well-placed senbon to the neck. Ouch, that's going to hurt in the morning. Naruto commented as he looked at Sasuke's prone, senbon-covered form before turning to face Haku, who had removed her mask. So what did No Brows say? Zabuza-sama agreed to your proposition. Haku said with a small giggle at Naruto's name for the Zanbato-wielding missing nin. I knew he would. Naruto paused when the sound of chirping birds filled the air and both of them turned around to see Zabuza pinned by several large dogs with Kakashi holding a lightning-covered fist in front of him. Aw shit, looks like I got to save his first. Kakashi glared at Zabuza with his uncovered Sharingan eye as he held his Raikiri lightning blade to the side. He was surprised when Zabuza merely looked at him with boredom. Kakashi was about to tell Zabuza about his crimes and if he would like to surrender as per shinobi protocol when Naruto emerged from a shadow portal in between them. About damn time, where the hell were you, Gaki, brat? Zabuza growled as Naruto ignored him and flicked several kunai in his direction and dispelled Kakashi's ninja dog summons. Naruto, what are you doing? Kakashi asked in shock as he released his technique. Naruto frowned for a second before a look of understanding crossed his face. Oh right, I haven't told you yet. I made a deal with Zabuza a week back and he accepted it, so we're allies now. Naruto explained as Zabuza strapped Kubikiribocho to his back and walked over. And what was it that you two made a deal about? Kakashi asked as he pulled his headband back down over his eye. That in exchange for leaving the old drunk alone, he will accompany me and Haku back to Kurigakure and help us kill the Mizukage. Zabuza answered as Kakashi's visible eye widened in shock. Naruto, do you know what you had agreed to? Kakashi exclaimed as the remaining members of Team 11 walked up along with Haku and Tazuna. What's going on here? One moment you guys were fighting and the next you all are standing around chatting like old friends. Tazuna looked from Kakashi to Zabuza and finally Naruto. I struck a deal with Zabuza that I go with him and Haku-chan to kick the Yondaime Mizukages. In return they promised to leave your drunken alone. Naruto replied simply. I take it that both of you knew what he was planning by the lack of any form of surprise or shock. Kakashi drawled as he looked at Anko and Akane. They nodded their heads in unison. Naru-kun informed us immediately after he planned it. Akane said before Naruto suddenly perked up as a tapping sound was heard by everyone. Well, as much as I enjoy standing around here chatting, it looks our conversation has to be put on hold. Naruto turned to look at the source and found Geto standing in front of a huge group of thugs tapping his cane against the bridge. What's this? I knew that I shouldn't have trusted you. Good thing I wasn't even planning on paying you in the first place. Geto sneered. You little piece of shit. Zabuza grabbed the handle of Kubikiribocho, but Naruto grabbed his arm and prevented him from charging ahead. Calm down, he's just riling you up. Naruto whispered in a serious tone. Zabuza took a deep breath and released his grip on the Zanbato. Apparently your friend is smarter than you. He knows that there is no point in standing against the might of Geto. Kill all of them but leave the females. They can be our entertainment for tonight, right boys? Geto asked with a lecherous smirk as the gathered thugs roared in approval before everyone suddenly felt a huge weight crushing them onto the bridge. The source of the force was none other than Naruto, who was glaring at Geto with slitted amethyst pupils that glowed with rage and power. You made two mistakes right here, Geto. First, you never mention raping females in front of me. Second, you never, ever mention raping my mates in front of me. Now you shall pay the ultimate price. Naruto let a maniacal grin creep across his face as he drew his Zanpakuto and held it in front of him. Kurayami Kara Nukedasu, Kagekote. Emerge from darkness, Shadow Emperor. Naruto's blade turned black and he plunged it into himself once again, but this time there was no jutsu to prevent everyone from seeing what happened. Shinobi and hired thugs watched in awe as the blade of shadow sunk into his chest before starting to spread across his entire body. His entire body was encased in shadows in a matter of seconds. Getu watched in fear as two almond-shaped amethyst-colored eyes opened and glared right at him. Those eyes seemed to be able to stare right into his soul and burn it. I don't know what the you are, but whoever brings me that freak's head gets triple the payment. Getu shouted out suddenly as the thugs all cheered and surged forward, but 10 of them suddenly froze on the spot before forming a line between the shinobi group and the remaining thugs. Our little group over here already knows that my ability in this form grants me the ability to manipulate shadows. They saw me turn shadows into spears and swords. Now let me introduce you scum to another technique I have recently learned, Kage Ningyo no Jutsu. Shadow Puppeteer Technique. Naruto had both his hands held straight out in front of him with a line of shadow connecting each of his fingers to one of the thugs. This allows me to control the people like a puppet master by using their own shadows. Alas, I can only control 10 people at a time with this. Everyone gaped at the abilities that Naruto's sword could give him. Well, everyone except a certain pink-haired banshee, since she was too busy mourning over her dead love interest. Talking time is over. Slaughter time is now. Naruto roared as he manipulated the 10 thugs to start hacking away at their allies with whatever weapons they had in their hand. The citizens of Wave Country came at that moment and watched in confusion, as the thugs continued fighting amongst themselves. Eventually the last of Naruto's puppet minions fell, leaving behind about roughly half of the initial army of hired thugs. Looks like it's my turn now. Naruto chuckled darkly as he glided forward like a specter with both hands held out to his sides. The shadows around him started gathering into his hands and formed into a pair of katanas. The thugs nearly shit themselves at the sight and started to panic and run away, but some found themselves bound by shadows while others were strangled or impaled by their own shadows. Getu watched on fearfully as Naruto systematically cut through his hired army like a lawnmower through a grass field. He started backing away as a thug landed directly in front of him. Please, help me, he screamed as a hand formed of shadows dragged him back into the carnage, causing Getu to take another step back. Zabuza watched as the shadow-wielding genin single-handedly decimated the army of hired thugs and nodded approvingly. No way that they could lose against the Mizukage with Naruto on their side. Naruto was silent throughout the entire process of elimination until he finally sliced the final member in half with the shadow katana in his hand. Naruto watched in silent amusement as Getu stumbled backwards in hopes of getting away from him. His expensive business suit was completely drenched in sweat and his sunglasses had dropped onto the bridge. Where's your so-called mighty Getu? Money is no substitute for real power. You have learnt that lesson today. Naruto held his hand out in a choking motion and Getu's own shadow rose up and held him up by his neck. Wait. Stop. I can give you anything you want. Money, fame, women. Getu tried desperately to buy his way out of his current predicament. Naruto tapped his free hand to his chin in fake thought. I have no use for money. I will gain fame in time and I already have several beautiful women in my company. Your wealth can't get you out of this, Getu. It's time for you to pay for your crimes against not only this country but everyone you have wronged. Now do everyone a favor and just die. Naruto snapped the crime lord's neck like a toothpick and dumped his body to the side of the bridge before turning around and finally noticing the bloody and body-strewn bridge. This won't do at all. How are the workers supposed to build the bridge in this condition? Naruto snapped his fingers as shadow portals started appearing and sucking in the blood, guts and bodies into the shadow dimension, thus leaving the bridge relatively clean. Naruto sighed as the shadows covering his entire body receded back into the familiar shape of his Zanpakuto. He sheathed his blade before walking back to a stunned audience. What? Naruto asked. That was awesome, Naruto ni. You totally kicked all of their asses. Inari shouted, causing the rest of the villagers to erupt into cheering and laughter now that the tyranny of Getu was gone. Of course I did. Just who the hell do you think I am? Naruto smirked as he ruffled Inari's hair playfully. No fair, Naru-kun. Me and Anko wanted to get in on the fun as well. Akane pouted at not being able to spill any blood. Hey, I didn't say you couldn't join in. You two just stood at the side watching when you could have jumped in at any moment. Naruto pointed out, causing Akane and Anko to look at each other sheepishly. Hey Gaki, now that Gato is dead, Zabuza paused as Naruto turned to look at him. I know, we'll rest up for a day and restock on our supplies before leaving for Mizu no Kuni, Land of Water. Naruto told the Kiri missing nin. Alright, you do know who the Yondaime Mizukage is, right? Zabuza asked. Yeah, I do. Yagura, the Jinchuriki of the Sanbi no Kyodai game, three-tailed giant turtle. Naruto replied as he turned his amethyst gaze up to the sky. Watch out, brother, I'm coming for you. Previously on Naruto, demonic Shinigami. Hey Gaki, now that Gato is dead, Zabuza paused as Naruto turned to look at him. I know, we'll rest up for a day and restock on our supplies before leaving for Mizu no Kuni, Land of Water. Naruto told the Kiri missing nin. Alright, you do know who the Yondaime Mizukage is, right? Zabuza asked. Yeah, I do. Yagura, the Jinchuriki of the Sanbi no Kyodai game, three-tailed giant turtle. Naruto replied as he turned his amethyst gaze up to the sky. Watch out, brother, I'm coming for you. 2 days later in the morning. Naruto, you do know what you're getting into, right? Kakashi asked again as 3 separate groups stood on the newly constructed bridge. The first group being the Wave citizens, the second being the group heading back to Konoha, and the third was the group heading to Kurigakure. Kakashi, for the last time, I am sure. Naruto sighed at the one-eyed Junin's overprotective behavior while Zabuza looked highly amused and Haku just gave a soft giggle. Just take care of yourself, okay? Kakashi smiled at him before walking back to where his team was standing, leaving Naruto with Akane and Anko. We'll miss you, Naru-kun. They both exclaimed as each of them hugged him tightly against their chests. I will miss you both as well. Take good care of the estate while I'm gone. Naruto chuckled as he kissed both of them on the forehead and then the lips before they released him. Zabuza and Kakashi grumbled inwardly about lucky brats. Haku blushed as she wondered about the possibility of Naruto doing that to her. Sasuke sneered at the sight and Sakura fawned over his broody little. I'll miss you too, Naruto ni. Inari exclaimed as he tried to hold back the tears that threatened to spill forth from his eyes. Naruto just crouched in front of him and ruffled his hair. Don't worry, kiddo, I promise to drop by some time to visit or something. You make sure to get stronger so you can protect your family with your own 2 hands, got it? Naruto asked Inari, who nodded his head enthusiastically. Good. Take care of yourself, Naruto. Tazuna caught his slip up in time. Sure thing, you take care of yourself too, you old drunk. Naruto grinned in response, causing Tazuna to face Vault and everyone else to laugh. Well, if the sappy goodbyes are done, let's hit the road already. Zabuza growled impatiently through the bandages over his mouth. Keep your bandages on, no brows, we're leaving already. Naruto gave a small wave back to the Konoha party as well as the citizens of Nami no Kuni, Land of Waves. Zabuza restrained himself from attempting to cut the shadow user in half with his Zanbeitu. Tazuna suddenly slapped his forehead in exasperation, causing the citizens to look at him in confusion. What is it, San? Tsunami asked her father, who turned to look at her before pointing out one important fact. I just realized that we have yet to name the bridge. Well, that's easy, Inari spoke up as every head turned to look at him. We shall name it the Great Naruto Bridge. Great Naruto Bridge, huh? That's a great idea. The bridge named after our country's savior. The Great Naruto Bridge. Tazuna shouted out. The Great Naruto Bridge. The citizens of Wave echoed his shout. With Naruto. Naruto sneezed violently. Zabuza raised a non-existent eyebrow and commented, catch a cold this fast already? Naruto just glared at the swordsman and replied, of course not, must be Akane-chan or Anko-chan thinking about me already. Speaking of which, how did you even manage to score 2 hot as hell women such as them and even convince them to share you? Zabuza asked, obviously wanting to know the secret. Oh, it's relatively easy. Zabuza leaned in slightly to catch the reply, Haku also leaning in slightly as she caught wind of the conversation. I'm just that awesome. Naruto smiled at them, resulting in both ninjas almost face vaulting. Zabuza mumbled under his breath about selfish brats, but they continued on their journey in relative silence, though Haku kept taking the occasional glances at Naruto. Naruto, being the excellent shinobi, demon, Shinigami that he is, noticed almost immediately and grinned but kept it to himself. Looks like someone may be finding their next mate sooner than expected. Kagekote's voice held a teasing quality to it as it drifted through their mental link. Haku-chan is strong, beautiful, confident and has survived a childhood that is similar to mine. She would make an excellent mate, I just have to wait for her to come to me. Naruto smirked inwardly, causing Kage to let out a small giggle. Well, I'm going to take a nap now, just call my name if you need me. Kage yawned out and Naruto gave her a mental nod of acknowledgement. So Zabuza, Naruto drawled, causing the missing nin in question to grunt as means of saying, go ahead. What can you tell me about Yagura, besides the fact that he has the Sanbi sealed in him? Zabuza shrugged as he replied, well, he is about your age when he was made Mizukage. I was a mist captain at that time, and before you ask, mist is Kurigakure's Anbu. I see. Naruto gestured for Zabuza to continue. Haku knew everything but chose to listen in anyway. As I was saying, Yagura was trained at a young age to be a weapon for our village. He was personally taught by the Sandame Mizukage, who for some reason I can't seem to recall any information about. Zabuza scratched his head in confusion as Naruto narrowed his eyes at that particular piece of information. Not being able to recall any information at all sounds suspicious. Naruto thought to himself before paying attention as Zabuza started speaking again. Yagura has messy gray hair, pink pupilless eyes and what seems to be a stitch-like scar running from under his left eye all the way down his cheek. He always seems to have a dull expression and wears a gray undershirt with short mesh sleeves which has a metal plate of a Kurigakure forehead protector sewn onto it, over which he also wears a green poncho, a turquoise sash around his waist, paired with a green indumenta over his pants. Zabuza described the Yondaime Mizukage down to the last detail. What about his fighting style? I would presume he uses Suiten ninjutsu. Naruto hazarded a guess, to which Zabuza nodded in the affirmative. Yagura, as a result of having the Sanbi sealed into him, has an unnaturally high affinity for water techniques, even more so than your Nadaime Hokage, Senju Tobarama. He also uses a weird staff-like weapon with two hooks on each end, one larger than the other, along with a green flower on the larger end. Zabuza sighed as he looked directly at Naruto. Let me tell you that the weapon is not for show. He was even able to defeat me and Kubikiribocho with it. I would assume that this happened during your attempted coup. Naruto asked, causing Zabuza to nod as he recounted his tale of that fateful day. Flashback no jutsu. Zabuza growled beneath his bandages as he dashed silently through the pouring rain, intent on making it all the way to the Mizukage Tower undetected. His comrades were buying him time, so he had to do this fast, deadly and silent. Zabuza felt the familiar weight of his Zanbeitu, Kubikiribocho, strapped to his back as he ran up the side of the Mizukage Tower before breaking through one of the windows. He dived into a barrel roll and emerged from it with his huge blade drawn and at the ready. Momochi Zabuza, one of the Kiri no Shinobigatana Shichinen Shu, 7 ninja swordsmen of the Mist, current wielder of Kubikiribocho and Mist Captain. Yagura said in his usual emotionless voice. I did not expect you to be one of the rebels. If I did, then I would have executed you long ago. Sanbi no Yagura, Yagura of the 3 tails, your reign of terror ends tonight, and with it so will the bloodline purges. Zabuza roared out as he swung Kubikiribocho, intending on cutting the Yondaime Mizukage directly in half. Yagura deflected the attack with his staff before forming a one-handed seal and puffing out his cheeks. Suiten. Teppadama. Water release. Gunshot. Yagura spat out 3 human-sized spheres of water at a rapid pace, forcing Zabuza to disengage and evade the liquid projectiles that were heading towards him. Not wasting any time, Yagura used the opportunity to create several Mizu Bushin, water clones, and dashed towards Zabuza and engaged him in a duel of weapons. Damn, this is the strength of a Jinchuriki, huh? Zabuza grunted in thought as he blocked another blow from his smaller opponent. That didn't mean that the blows weren't as strong as his own though. Zabuza managed to create several of his own Mizu Bushins to occupy Yagura's while the originals clashed again, sparks flying from the contact point between their weapons. I am reminded again why you are a missed captain, Yagura complimented his opponent after several minutes of furious fighting. You're not bad yourself, Squirt, Zabuza panted out as sweat slithered down his forehead and face. What is this guy made of? I'm already running on reserves and this guy doesn't even look winded. Yagura didn't show any visible reaction to the insult, he just brandished his weapon and charged against Zabuza once more. Zabuza cursed as he caught the attack with the flat of his blade before kicking Yagura in the chest, causing the cage-level ninja to stumble backwards with a cough. Zabuza started running through hand seals and narrowed his eyes at Yagura, who had recovered from the kick. Sweden. Suiryuden no Jutsu. Water release. Water dragon projectile technique. The rain falling outside the broken window started forming into a giant dragon that swirled around Zabuza once before giving a roar and diving straight at Yagura. Zabuza smirked as he expected the kid to be crushed under the pressure of the attack, but his jaw fell agape as he saw Yagura gesture with one hand and the water dragon fell apart. What the hell was that? Zabuza growled to himself in thought before the door to the Mizukage's office burst open and a bloodied body fell in. Aim-chan. Zabuza cried out in grief as he saw the user of the Kiba swords collapse at his feet and immediately created several Mizu Bushins to fend off her attackers as well as Yagura. Sorry Zabu-kun. Too many ninjas. Mangetsu fell first before the rest of our group were overrun. I tried to get here, to warn you. Ringo Amayuri coughed out as blood flowed freely from her wounds. Shit. Come on Aim-chan, we're getting out of here. Zabuza growled as he attempted to pull her up with him, but a petite hand stroked his face. It's too late for me Zabu-kun, go ahead and live, to fight another day, Amayuri whispered, and she gave him a small smile causing tears to slide down Zabuza's face as he held her hand against his face. No I can't. I'm not leaving you behind. Zabuza declared stubbornly as he helped her stand up and limped towards the window. The sounds of fighting could still be heard in the background as his clones prevented anyone from attacking them. Yes, you can. Kurigakure still needs you. Goodbye Zabu-kun. Amayuri used as much strength as possible and pushed him out the window. Amayuri-chan. Zabuza shouted out as he fell from the window. Lightning illuminated the sky at that moment, allowing the swordsman to see Amayuri mouthing several words at him. I love you. The last Zabuza saw of Amayuri was her drawing Kiba and turning back to stall the enemy forces inside the tower. Zabuza back-flipped in midair and on both feet before sprinting away from the tower. The pouring rain hid the tears that slid down his face as he ran, tears that he swore he would never shed again. Flashback no Jutsu Kai. Zabuza, true to his word, never shed a single tear throughout the entire recollection, but Naruto could see that he was struggling to contain them. Naruto didn't know how he would react if Akane or Anko were taken away from him, but he knew that it would be a cold day in hell before he allowed something like that to happen. Zabuza-sama. Haku looked on in concern at her mentor, Master Father, who quickly shook his head free of depressing thoughts and settled back into his tough guy image. I'm fine Haku. He grunted in reply. Naruto looked up at the sky before speaking loud enough for Zabuza to catch. I promise to defeat Yagura and avenge her. Thanks, Naruto. Zabuza thought as his expression softened slightly. Next day. Come on Naruto, rise and shine. Zabuza kicked Naruto's sleeping form roughly. Naruto cracked open his eyes and groaned, be gentler would you? Zabuza rolled his eyes as Haku giggled. Time to get moving, we should be reaching the rebel headquarters in a matter of minutes if we travel at full speed. If I traveled at full speed, we would be there in a matter of seconds. Naruto smirked as Zabuza's almost non-existent eyebrow started twitching. You don't even know where the base is, so shut the up and follow me Junior. Zabuza grinned under his bandages when Naruto started grumbling before pausing. Junior. Well, I can't call you Gaki since you don't look like one, but I do know you are younger than me, hence the nickname Junior. Zabuza explained simply. Fine, whatever you say, no brows. Naruto countered with a smirk. Haku merely watched on in amusement as the two traded insults back and forth for the remainder of the trip. Naruto stopped talking when they walked into a dense mist cloud that seemed to occupy the entire section of the forest. Something tells me that we're near the base. No shit, genius, just follow me. Zabuza said as he led them to a cave. Naruto could immediately sense something off about the cave, as could Haku. Genjutsu, Naruto whispered quietly. He could feel the chakra used to weave the illusion and formed the ram hand seal. Kai. All three of them shouted together as the image of the cave faded away to reveal a metal bunker of sorts with two guards standing at the ready with kunai drawn. Put those poor excuses for weapons away, we're on your side. Zabuza growled at the two guards. Both of them paled slightly at the large-ass sword on his back before one of them recognized him. Momochi Zabuza, you disappeared after your failed assassination attempt on Yagura. The older-looking one of the guards shouted, causing the younger-looking one to stare at Zabuza in awe. Yeah, it's me. Who's in charge of this damn rebellion now? Zabuza asked the older shinobi, who did his best not to flinch under the larger man's gaze. Terumi Mei, she's the one leading us. He replied instantly. Terumi Mei, huh? I don't recall anyone by that name, though I do remember the Terumi clan. Zabuza rubbed his chin in thought. Naruto crossed his arms and glared at the swordsman. Care to enlighten us on the clan? Members of their clan normally gain one of two Kekkei Genkai they have, the Yoden lava release or Futon boil release. Yoden is, as the name suggests, the ability to use lava-based ninjutsu, while Futon uses an acidic mist to eat away at your target. Zabuza elaborated as Naruto seemed intrigued by it. He turned to face the guards. So which of the two does this Mei have? Mei-sama doesn't have one of the two, she has both of them, and that's why she is our leader. The younger guard declared proudly. Wow, both of them, huh? That's a rare occurrence, never mind. We've wasted enough time. One of you two, bring us to this Terumi Mei so we can discuss about the war effort. Zabuza pointed at the closed door. Kuga, you go ahead and lead them to Mei-sama while I stay here and reapply the genjutsu. She should be at the strategy room with Ao and the rest of the higher-ranked troops. The older shinobi addressed the younger one, who quickly nodded and swiped his blood across the door to unseal it. Naruto was the last in after Zabuza and Haku. The floor immediately sloped downward, which led Naruto to believe this was an underground base. They followed their temporary guide through a series of twisting and winding corridors before he ushered them into a room and left. Oh, this is definitely a surprise, Momochi Zabuza of all people. A feminine voice said in surprise. Naruto turned towards the source and gasped at the sight that greeted him. She had ankle-length, auburn hair styled into a herringbone pattern at the back, a top knot tied with a dark blue band, and with 4 bangs at the front. 2 bangs are short, with one covering her right eye, and 2 are long, crossing each other on her chest, just below her chin. Her emerald green eyes shone with determination that Naruto often sees in people that have a purpose. She wore a long-sleeved dark blue dress, which falls just below the knees. The dress only covers up to the upper part of her upper arms and the underside of her. Underneath, she wears a mesh shirt that covers more of her upper body than her dress, but stops short of covering her shoulders and still leaves a sizable cleavage. She also wears shorts in the same color as her dress and, underneath those, mesh leggings reaching down over her knees. Around her waist, she wears a belt with a pouch attached to the back on the left. Naruto could only process one thought that shot straight through his mind upon laying his eyes upon the rebellion leader. Daman. Naruto thought with a grin before his observant eyes noted that she was checking him out as well. Terumi Mei was surprised when Momochi Zabuza, the Kurigakure no Kijin, demon of the hidden mist, walked into their war room. However, she was even more surprised when a raven-haired female dressed like a hunter nin and a blonde-haired male followed him in. Mei licked her lips as she ran her eyes over the blonde. Such a fine specimen. Why, hello there, and who might you be, handsome? Mei practically purred out as she strode up to our favorite blonde shinobi, who just smirked at her in response. Uzumaki Naruto, genin of Konohagakure no Sato. And I assume that the lovely lady I'm speaking to is Terumi Mei, the leader of this rebellion. Indeed I am, though why is a Konoha shinobi following the Kurigakure no Kijin? Mei asked as she crossed her arms over her impressive chest, which only served to accentuate them more. Naruto, Zabuza and every other male in the room were forced to stifle their own nosebleeds at the sight while Haku merely growled lowly at the auburn-haired woman. Naruto shrugged. I was on a mission, ran across old No Brows here and kicked his. Haku here helped him escape, found it too bothersome to kick his again, so I made a deal with him. He would stop pursuing my client if I helped him kick the Mizukage's 6 ways to Sunday, so well, here I am. Zabuza grinded his teeth at the nickname. Haku was still glaring at Mei. Everyone else was looking at the blonde as if they believed he just escaped from a mental asylum. You defeated Momochi Zabuza, one of the Kiri no Shinobigatana Shichinen Shu, by yourself. Ao said slowly as if to emphasize each word in the question. Naruto rolled his eye in exasperation. Yes, I kicked his. Why is that so hard to believe? Yeah, as embarrassing as it is to say it, he totally wiped the floor with me. Zabuza grunted in addition, causing everyone there to gape at Naruto. Yes, I did. Now can we move this along so I can go kick my brothers and go home? Naruto asked impatiently, causing everyone to look at him in confusion. Mei decided to voice out everyone's question. Yugura is your brother. We aren't related by blood if that is what you meant. I was referring to the fact that I used to be a Jinchuriki myself. Naruto explained, causing everyone to go wide-eyed. You're a former Jinchuriki? Mei asked and got a nod in response. You're from Konoha and a former Jinchuriki. The only Biju that attacked Konoha recently is the. Naruto smirked as he looked at all the pale faces in the room. Wow, beautiful and smart. That's right, I was the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi no Yoko. Mei blushed at the comments but quickly beat it down and looked at Naruto seriously. If what you said is true, then that means the Kyuubi is free from the seal, so where is he? She. Mei-chan. Kyuubi is a female. Naruto corrected, causing Mei to blush again at the added suffix to her name before she finally digested that piece of information. Ha! The strongest Biju in existence is a female, take that you bastards! Mei shouted into the air. Everyone in the room sweat dropped at the action, but Naruto snorted in amusement. I get the feeling that both of you would get along perfectly. You know the Kyuubi personally? Ao asked incredulously. Naruto grinned in response. Of course I know her personally, she is one of my mates after all. Mei blinked owlishly at the statement as her brain tried to process the information it had just received. You are mated to the Kyuubi and have more than one wife. Well, the correct term is mate, but that is about right. It's that redhead, right? Akane, if I'm not mistaken. Zabuza finally spoke out. Right you are. How did you know? Naruto looked at him curiously as Zabuza shrugged in response. Not too sure. Just got a strange feeling around her. Not too unlike you. Zabuza trailed off as he glanced at Naruto. Naruto sighed in resignation. I knew this would get out sooner or later. Yes, I am a demon, or at least a part of me is. Demon, huh? So what's the other part of you? Zabuza asked. Well, the other part of me is the Shinigami. Naruto paused as he let everyone let out a gasp of surprise before continuing. Yes, I know it is very surprising and all that, and no, I will not go into detail on why I am like this, too long to explain. Everyone's sweat dropped at the reply before Mei cleared her throat. Alright, even if what you said is true, I still have to test your capabilities to see at what level you are. Fine by me, so who am I fighting? Naruto inquired as he cracked his neck with a savage grin. Why, it would be me, of course, since I am the strongest person in this base. Mei smirked at him. Naruto chuckled as he shook his head in amusement before looking at Mei with his grin still in place. By the end of our little spar, you will know just how wrong that statement is. We'll just have to see about that, won't we? Ow. Shunshin us to the underground sparring cavern. Mei ordered the eye-patched shinobi beside her. Ao nodded his head before grabbing both Naruto's and Mei's shoulders and disappearing in a swirl of water. Another Junin grabbed Zabuza's and Haku's shoulders and did the same thing. Naruto whistled in appreciation when they appeared inside a large underground cavern. Looks like you guys carved this place out of the solid rock, using high-pressured water jutsus, I presume. Very astute observation, Naruto-kun, but let's get on with the match, shall we? Mei cracked her knuckles before relaxing into a combat stance. Sure thing, Mei-chan, and just to be fair, I won't use my sword since you don't have one. Naruto said as he removed his zanpakuto from his waist and placed her in a clone's hands. Very chivalrous of you, Naruto-kun. Guess we have to have another spar in future when I have my sword on me then. Mei replied, giving him a subtle hint that she did indeed own a sword. I'll look forward to that time when it comes around, Mei-chan. Until then, Kage Bushin no Jutsu. Shadow Clone Technique. Naruto called out as 9 solid clones appeared around him in a rough battle formation, which Mei countered with her own cry of Mizu Bushin no Jutsu. Water Clone Technique. As 4 clones formed out of water molecules that came from the air itself, hinting to Naruto that his opponent possessed a high affinity towards water. The clones charged each other as the 2 originals engaged in a high-speed taijutsu battle. Naruto unleashed a barrage of punches and kicks that Mei effortlessly dodged with her flexibility. Damn, you sure are flexible, Mei-chan. Naruto grunted as he blocked a rising knee that was aimed at his gut. Years of training, Naruto-kun. I could always show you what else my flexibility can apply to. Mei whispered seductively into his ear as she dodged a straight right jab. Maybe after I kick Yagura's him. Naruto smirked as his reply caused her to blush and stumble forward, allowing him to catch her with a palm to the solar plexus and knocked her back a few steps. Mei coughed slightly before smirking as she ran through several hand seals and breathed in deeply. Yoden. Taki Kasukedo no Jutsu. Lava Release. Cascading Waterfall Technique. A torrent of glowing magma shot from her mouth and arched into the sky before falling back down towards Naruto in a giant waterfall-like pattern. The many people who gathered to watch the match stared wide-eyed as Naruto merely yawned as the waterfall of lava crashed down onto his location. Before anyone could panic, a clapping sound was heard from behind Mei, causing her to spin around in shock to see Naruto standing there clapping his hands. Bravo! What a magnificent display of your Yoden Kekkei Genkei. Why you? How did you manage to get behind me? Mei gaped at the now smirking blonde. Let's see, you mean like this? Naruto whispered into her ear after he had sunk into a shadow portal and appeared directly behind her. She shivered slightly at the pleasant sensation of his hot breath tickling her ear. Very good, Naruto-kun, but Mei suddenly grinned as her body started expanding, causing Naruto to curse. Not good enough. Yoden. Yobushin Bakuhatsu. Lava Release. Lava Clone Eruption. Mei's clone erupted in fiery explosion, flinging globs of lava throughout the arena as the real Mei emerged from the ground with a hand on her hip. Mei was about to say something when she found herself bound in ninja wire that was being held by a smirking Naruto, who looked perfectly fine. That was really dangerous. Good thing I managed to kawari me with a Kage Bushin in time. Now time for your punishment, Mei-chan. Hado number 11, Suzuri Raiden. Bound Lightning. Naruto's left hand sparkled with electricity before he touched the ninja wire in his right hand, causing a current of yellow lightning to shoot along the line straight towards a bound, wide-eyed Mei. Mei gritted her teeth as the lightning coursed through her body, causing temporary paralysis. Naruto strode over towards her as he drew a kunai. Do you surrender, Mei-chan? Naruto asked casually as he placed the kunai at her throat. Mei scowled, but it quickly turned into a smirk. Doden. Dochu Igyo no Jutsu. Earth Release. Underground Projection Fish Technique. Naruto cursed as Mei sank into the ground. He quickly back-flipped several paces from his position and readied his kunai as he scanned the surrounding wearily. Doden. Tsuchi Kairo. Earth Release. Earth Corridor. Mei's voice shouted out as the earth surrounding Naruto suddenly rose up and imprisoned him inside. He looked up and saw Mei standing at the entrance on the top. Mei placed her hands in the horse seal before smirking. This is my win Naruto-kun, Futen, Komu no Jutsu. Boil release. Skilled mist technique. Naruto watched as an almost invisible cloud of mist sprayed out of her mouth and descended towards him. He made a mental note of how dangerous it was when he noticed the rock walls imprisoning him started to melt. Too easy, Naruto murmured as he sank into his shadow and appeared from Mei's shadow and held the kunai to her neck once again. Did you already forget I could do that, Mei-chan? Of course not, Naruto-kun, in fact I was banking on it. Futen. Bushin Bakuhatsu. Boil release. Clone explosion. Mei's clone exploded in a spray of acidic mist, blowing Naruto across the chamber and slamming him into the cavern's rock wall. Okay, that one really hurt. Naruto growled as he hauled himself back to his feet, half his face and his left arm covered in acid burns, but they were already being healed by his Yuki. Time to test out that new technique that Akane-chan taught me. Taju Kage Bushin no Jutsu. Mass Shadow Clone Technique. Naruto created 100 copies of himself and had them charge Mei, who along with everyone else had their jaws on the ground at witnessing such a feat. Mei quickly snapped out of her daze and quickly ran through 20 hand seals in a few seconds before the clones could reach her. Sweden. Choryu o Gakido no Jutsu. Water release. Raging Tides Technique. Mei shot out a torrent of water from her mouth that started to swirl around her in a spiral. It slowly gained speed before bursting outward in several waves. Naruto's clones that were closest to her were dispelled instantly, and those that were further away were carried by the waves and slammed into the walls of the cavern and then dispelling. Mei was panting slightly as she searched the now rather wet cavern but couldn't find the blonde partial demon. Her eyes darted from left to right as she tried to slow down her breathing. Naruto wore a self-satisfied grin on his face as he crouched upside down in the shadows of the ceiling of the cavern. His hands weren't idle for that matter as they were running through an assortment of unknown hand seals. Naruto's grin stretched out across his face as he finally finished the sequence on a seal that looked strangely like a Tora tiger seal. Up here, Mei-chan. Onakaden. Kitsunbai no Kuchi. Demonic Fire Release. Foxfire's Ma. Everyone gawked as blue flames gathered around Naruto and formed into a whitish-blue flaming fox head with its muzzle opened. A bluish glow surrounded the mouth before a jet of blue flames shot towards Mei. She back-flipped away from the spot as the torrent of whitish-blue flames instantly melted the rocks there, but it didn't stop and continued towards her. Damn! Mei cursed aloud as she continued to evade the stream of foxfire that didn't seem to let up. She back-flipped one more time before she felt her back slam against the wall behind her. Thinking quickly, she ran through several hand seals. Sweden. Sujinheki. Water release. Water encampment wall. Mei spewed forth a large amount of water from her mouth that quickly formed into a protective wall in front of her, preventing the flames from scorching her. The hiss of evaporating water could be heard throughout the cavern, the evaporated water turning into a mist that obscured everyone's sight, including the two combatants. Naruto released the technique as the fox head dissipated into the air. He silently formed 3 shadow clones and all 4 of them dropped silently back to the cavern's ground. No sooner did their feet touch the ground than one of his clones dispelled by a kunai through the head, meaning that Mei was still in action. This mist is seriously getting troublesome. Great, now I'm starting to sound like Shikamaru. Naruto groaned mentally as he and his 2 remaining clones split up and moved through the mist silently. Meanwhile, at the sidelines, Zabuza was grinning underneath his bandages as he observed the match between 2 extremely strong and skillful shinobi. The Gaki is seriously strong even without his special sword. I haven't seen a fight like this in years. Zabuza exclaimed in manic glee, causing Ao and Haku to sweat drop at his remark. Mei had a kunai in each hand as she stealthily moved through the dense mist. She wasn't as good as Zabuza in the silent killing style since she was more of a direct approach person. A shadow moved at the area to her right, causing her to fling a kunai straight at the source. A poof signified that it was just a shadow clone and not the real deal. Shit. How many clones did he even create before entering the mist? Is he even in here in the first place, or is it just filled with his shadow clones? Damn. I am at a disadvantage here. Mei thought bitterly as she tightly gripped her other kunai before she heard a sound to her left and whirled around just in time to block a descending strike from a kunai-wielding Naruto. Fancy meeting you here, Naruto-kun. You know, nobody can actually see what we are doing behind this mist, can they? Mei purred seductively in an effort to hide her previous nervousness. As tempting as that is, Mei-chan, I'm just a clone. Naruto's clone grinned as the real Naruto charged at her from behind and tackled her to the ground, pinning her arms onto the ground with his own. Mei was physically weaker than Naruto and couldn't force him off, so she took a deep breath and prepared to scorch him at point-blank range with her lava. Damn her lava. Think fast, Naruto. Naruto quickly crushed his lips against hers in a forceful kiss, causing Mei's eyes to widen considerably as she lost focus on her technique. The mist chose this moment to dissipate, revealing the lip-locked couple to their gathered audience. Haku was glaring daggers at the auburn-haired woman as she mentally imagined herself in that position, while the other shinobi, Zabuza and Ao included, watched with wide eyes and hanging jaws. Mei finally got over her shock as she closed her eyes and relaxed into the kiss before kissing him back, which greatly surprised Naruto, but who would complain about such a situation? Naruto licked her bottom lip gently as Mei parted her lips slightly, allowing him to slip his tongue into her mouth and wrap around hers. Mei moaned into the kiss as Naruto sucked gently on her tongue before exploring the rest of her wet cavern. They continued like this for an entire minute before an embarrassed cough interrupted them. They separated from each other to see a slightly flushed Ao looking at them along with the rest of their audience. Naruto helped Mei back to her feet and straighten out their ruffled clothes. So, do I pass the test? Naruto asked. Most definitely. I would say you are at least on par with a cage-level shinobi. Come to the command center first thing tomorrow morning. You can do whatever you want for now. Mei replied as she tried to keep the blush of her face. Anything, huh? Can I have a guide to show me around? Wouldn't want to get lost or something. Sure. Let's see who should be up to the job. I know. Mangetsu, get over here. Mei shouted out. Naruto turned and saw a white-haired teenage male with a strange bandaged-up fish-shaped object on his back. Hi Mei-sama, what can I do for you? Mangetsu saluted the rebellion leader. Mei gestured at Naruto, who waved his hand in greeting. Please show Naruto-kun around the base and find him a suitable room to bunk in as well. Consider it done. Mangetsu grinned, allowing Naruto to see his shark-like teeth. Follow me, Naruto-san. No, none of that san bull crap. Just plain old Naruto will do. Naruto corrected, causing Mangetsu to let out a bark of laughter. I can tell we're going to get along just fine, Naruto. Mangetsu paused as he saw Naruto retrieve his sword from his clone and reattached it to his waist. That's a beautiful sword. Does it have a name? Yea, she does. Her name is Kagekote. And she is a sentient sword, also known as a Zanpakuto. Naruto caressed Kagekote gently, earning a slight tingle of happiness in response. Then shouldn't her name be Shadow Empress instead? Mangetsu asked in confusion, causing Naruto to face palm and groan in frustration. I know. However, that is her name and there is nothing she or I can do about it. Ha ha ha, I see. Well, the sword on my back is Haramakare and one of the 7 legendary swords of the mist. Mangetsu pointed at the fish-shaped bundle attached to his back. Okay, enough standing around. I'm supposed to show you around. Lead the way. See you two tomorrow morning. Naruto waved at Zabuza and Haku before disappearing around the corner. Mangetsu led the way through the various corridors and tunnels that the whole underground base seemed to constitute off. They passed by many different shinobi that Naruto assumed had Kekkei Genkai. So what clan are you from? Naruto asked his guide as they walked past the mess hall. Oh, I'm from the Hazuka clan. Our Kekkei Genkai allows us to transform our bodies into water, thus preventing us from sustaining damage from physical attacks. However, this leaves us more vulnerable to lightning-based techniques. Mangetsu answered without breaking stride. So how many members of your clan made it out of the bloodline purges so far? Mangetsu frowned a little but still replied, right now we are down to about 10 or so clan members. with me and my younger brother being one of the 10. Our parents were killed during the initial phase of the bloodline purges, they sacrificed themselves to make sure we got out safely. I'm sorry to hear that. Does that mean your younger brother is here as well? Yes, he is. As a matter of fact, I shall introduce you right now. Mangetsu declared as he grabbed a hold of one of Naruto's arms and dragged him down several narrow hallways before stopping in front of a wooden door. He rapped on it 3 times before testing the knob and found that it was not locked, so he pushed it open. Naruto was greeted by the sight of a smaller version of Mangetsu, only that the boy's hair had a slight light blue tinge to it. Naruto noted that the boy seemed to be around his age, not counting the fact that the transformation gave him an adult's body, and was in the middle of performing some katas. Naruto, this is my younger brother by 4 years, Suigetsu. Suigetsu, this is Naruto and he is here to help us fight against Yagura Tem. Mangetsu introduced them to each other. Nice to meet you. Suigetsu grinned as he shook hands with Naruto, revealing that he had the same shark-like teeth that his brother has. Ditto. I see you are going through some Kenjutsu katas. You are planning on following your brother and joining up with the Kiri no Shinobigatana Shichinen Shu, 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist. Naruto asked the younger of the 2 Hazuka siblings. Of course, that is my dream. To be able to fight alongside my Aniki as one of the 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist. Suigetsu proudly declared. Naruto chuckled as he turned to leave the room. That is a good dream, Suigetsu. I will look forward to the day that you fulfill it. Naruto left the 2 brothers to their own devices as he backtracked to the room that Mangetsu had pointed out beforehand. He stopped in front of the wooden door that was supposedly the entrance to his room. Naruto shrugged as he knocked on the door 3 times. Yo, is anyone in there? The sound of creaking followed by shuffling feet could be heard before the door opened to reveal a male that appeared to be in his early 20s. Hey, you must be that Naruto that Mangetsu had told me about, come on in. Oh, but apparently I was not informed of who my roommate actually was. Naruto told the man. The man paused before turning around with a wide smile. Oh, how rude of me, Uzumaki Kenshiro, at your service.